What in the hell do you think you're doing?
Hey, John Boy.
I'm telling you straight, it's my way or the highway. So anybody who wants to walk, do it now.
Hey, everybody, we're all going to get late.
And again, it's picked up. It's Darius Leonard. A pick six for the Maniac. Touchdown, I-N-D-Y. Yes, sir.
Oh, the Dickens. Double time.
Miles Turner.
Yeah.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
You know what I love? I love that downtown right now looks like 1986. I love that. Anybody driven around downtown, especially in the vicinity of Lucas Oil Stadium? Sincerely, it looks like 1986. Now, a much older version of 1986, but it looks like 1986, and I'm not making fun of it. I am on board with it. Honestly, if you wanted to be just like 1986, you could have all these people that are getting ready to go to this concert at Lucas Oil Stadium, this rock show tonight, which is going to be fantastic. You could all have them go stand in front of where the, what's that sandwich shop from Pittsburgh that's been closed forever, or stand in front of the old Champs location, an empty building, for example. Then it would look like 1986 down here. Get a big rock show happening, and then a bunch of people standing around an empty building. That would be 1986. But nah, that's awesome. I love seeing everybody's fired up. The workforce, Generation X and older, there is nobody. Thank you very much for doing that. There is nobody working this afternoon. Job well done. I believe that thing starts around 4:30. Joan Jett's going to be fantastic. Then Poison, Def Leppard, and Motley Crue. And again, so what if Vince doesn't have a voice and he doesn't sound like Vince, vintage Vince, whatever. Go for the time. And I guess the roof and the window will both be closed. That stinks, but that will hold in the pot smoke for you, if that matters. So it's going to be a blast. So welcome in to downtown, nearly everybody in my age group right now. That's outstanding. I'm also excited about this. The college football season is not officially allowed to start until we get Phil Steele on this show. And then, everybody gets a great education. That's what I love. Right? I love the fact that we can bring somebody on here and you don't have to hear anybody else's BS. You don't have to hear anybody else. Phil Steele comes on and it is just so, and this is what I miss so much. I thought about this when I knew that Phil was coming on. He is going to make me miss even more the Professor John Clayton. Two of the only guys that I would know, that I would bring on and ask a question, and they would both know absolutely everything and talk about the subject of the question that you brought up for the good portion of about 10 minutes. It is amazing, the knowledge. I'm not just trying to sell this thing coming up at 4 o'clock. There's no need to sell it because it is beyond legit. This guy is the absolute best in discussing college football, especially at the beginning of the season. And he's also diversified, too. Because now that a lot of this, they still have the hard copy with the magazine. Barnes & Noble, I believe, among others, where you can find this. To me, it's probably the lone hard copy magazine that anybody absolutely has to run out and buy. At least in my world. But digitally speaking, it's awesome because when you go to philsteele.com, he will update what's going on over the course of the year. There is nobody better to educate you on the start of the college football season than Phil Steele. And give me some big props right here. Again, I'm going to be like 1986 terminology here. Give me some big props. Give me some props because we're all going to get to college football education to start the season. It can officially start now. Phil Steele, and oftentimes you say the great this and the great that. And I'm not suggesting people aren't great, but this absolutely does apply. Phil Steele, college football preview is going to be here coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, and I promise you this, it will be real and spectacular. Terry Hatcher. Cannot wait for that. Phil Steele here in the 4 o'clock hour. Greg Raystraw is going to join us coming up at the bottom of the hour as well on the road in Buffalo. Both he and Rick Venturi had the television call. Lara Overton on the sideline of preseason game 1. We'll get the feel from Greg about that. Get in a little bit to not only the Lions preseason game 2 coming up on Saturday. Remember, that's a 1 o'clock start, 10 a.m. for us, starting the Colts pregame huddle. That's an early one. But not just that, but you have the joint Lions-Colts practices coming up later on this week. We'll dive into that with Greg Rakestraw coming up here around 3:30. And he's always great for having the high school football, the high school news in general. You get the start of the high school football season coming up. We'll certainly jump into that with Greg at the bottom of the hour. You know, the one thing I guess we gathered last week in talking to Kyle Neddenrip is this season you've got, I guess, slight favorites, but not the favorites that we were talking about this time last year. A lot of opportunities for a lot of different teams in different classes out there. We'll talk to Greg about that. And then you had, the best girls basketball player in the state decide to bail for Lemire. Not my choice. You make the best choice for yourself, right? The best choice for yourself. But I would have an incredibly difficult time. That's just the way I grew up. Things have changed since then, right? I mean, you can't tell if you're in downtown Indy right now because it does look like 1986. I'd have been a sophomore in high school. But there's no way that I could bail. I couldn't bail on my school. Listen, there are a lot of things I didn't like, but when I went through high school, most of the things I didn't like, it was created by my jackassery. So I look back on it and I go, man, I'm glad I didn't miss this. Man, I'm glad I didn't miss that. Wow, that was awesome being a part of this. I tell this to my kids all the time. And again, I'm not trying to hand out advice or preach here. I'm just telling you from my standpoint in growing up and what I have talked to my kids, in particular Blake and Roncalli. He's running now. I look at running as punishment. I say, what are you doing running? There's no way you got this from me, but I'm glad he's doing it. Why? Because I want you to be a part of something. I'm glad you're a part of this. And the same thing goes for Laney Lou. You'll want to be a part of something one of these days. Remember that. You know, I'm not projecting you being some incredible star, but one of these days you will want to be a part of something. You will look back on that with a great deal of pride. When you get older and crusty and decrepit like your dad, you'll look back on that, man, that was a good time. I had a hell of a time rolling around in the back of this Chevy S10 throwing wet Twinkies at other people. That's great. And that's how I viewed the organized sports at that level, too. Just all good memories. Talk to Greg about that coming up at the bottom of the hour. Stephen Holder of ESPN.com is going to slide in here as well. Coming up in the 5 o'clock hour, Mike Strawn's getting a lot of work. Now, I saw this. This is from my good friend Steve in San Antonio. He wrote this a little bit earlier in response to something Zach Kiefer had tweeted. Let me go ahead and make sure I get the right context for you. So he responded to Zach Kiefer, who tweeted thoughts on the Colts light workout today. Strawn didn't seem limited. Good start. And if he can go this week versus Detroit, a much-needed boost for the wide receiving room. So there's your context, of which our good friend Steve in San Antonio, Texas says, no, actually, it was somebody else, and he said that's 100%, which I guess is an agreement, right? Is that what it means? 100? Somebody's keeping it 100. The fact that it's August the 16th and we're already in need of a Mike Strawn boost is absurd. That that is just Zach putting it in Zach terms. Listen, the Colts are hopeful about this guy, but there is no, hey, we're going to add him and there's going to be a boost. You hope that he adds a boost. You hope that that's accurate. You hope that it all works out, but you don't know. I hope that it works out too. Because frankly, I don't know what you're going to end up doing with him if it's not up to where you hope it to be. I.e., if he doesn't find a spot here. It's going to be interesting to see how they handle him moving forward. But I would suggest this. I don't think that that's phrased accurately. I don't know how much of a boost. Like, I don't feel like, Alec Pierce or Michael Pittman Jr., who's going to join us on the show tomorrow, or Ashton Doolin or Desmond Patman's going, wow, this is an added boost. Maybe for our viewing enjoyment. Maybe just so everybody that talks about him on a daily basis can get up off the rest of the pass-catching room outside of Michael Pittman Jr. Because really, you kind of put him here because of the expectations, and then everybody else is really just like Mike Strachan. It's, well, you hope, but. I had a dude yesterday that was saying, man, you guys, this wide receiving thing, you got to wait and see what happens. And I said, listen, we've waited around to see what has happened before. We've been plenty patient with it. You just continue to wait. And you have to have others besides Michael Pittman Jr. step up and give you production. So, no, we have been patient. I would argue very patient. It's just different because, as I mentioned yesterday, Chris Ballard, when he hears that, he bristles at that. He doesn't care as much about that. He cares about it, don't get me wrong, but not as much as he does about building the team on the defensive line and the offensive line. But he bristles at that because we view so far as a swing and a miss. And listen, Mike Strachan may turn into something great, but he is like everybody else that we're talking about right now. You're just hoping. You're hoping that he can blossom. You're hoping that Paris Campbell can stay healthy. You're hoping that Alec Pierce, as a rookie, can give you something. There's a reason why, when talking about Alec Pierce and his production this season, my expectations of that, there's a reason why I said similar to, and I'll be okay with that of Zach Pascal and his production of a year ago here. No, I hope I'm underselling it. I do. Because if I'm underselling it, it's going to make this, you would presume, this group much better. But I don't have the overwhelming expectations that it will change or to be more than that. Thus, if those are the numbers he puts up, I'm not going to go back and go, well, what a disappointment and what a bad pick. Now, I'm not going to describe it as a bad pick by Chris Ballard if he puts up numbers similar to that of Zach Pascal. I don't think any of us believes that they drafted, Jamar Chase to get Jamar Chase type of numbers in year number one. You look around at all these other highly productive wide receivers, especially the younger ones, and the ones right now that have began to get paid. This is not the same. So, no, I do. I squash my level of expectations for that alone because that's normally what happens. So I guess I view it, Steve, a little bit differently here. I think that just needs to be reworked in the wording department there. It's not an added boost. I hope that it's an added boost. You're just glad the dude is healthy and is out there and is getting reps, and you hope that he continues to be healthy. And when he is healthy, he's not a healthy scratch on the roster during the season. There's a reason why they believe he should be out there. That's a lot to ask a dude that's played at Charleston in the past. He bounced around a year ago, healthy, scratch this and scratch that. I hope, much like you do, that it is much different production-wise this year. Yeah, but I agree. I don't know what the boost is, and I wouldn't overreact to that. I don't think there's anything absurd about it other than maybe nitpicking on what Zach had to tweet about it. Yeah, that's what everybody's hoping, that he's just a boost for them. But it is going to take longer, as we all know, than just today or tomorrow. But hopefully the guy does show some signs. As I mentioned, too, Michael Pittman Jr. is going to join us coming up on tomorrow's show. Now, his expectations, I can already imagine his expectations for this year. Went over 1,000 yards a year ago. How many footballs will he catch this season? What do you think when I ask him, what do you expect? Do you have a similar synergy so far with Matt Ryan as you certainly looked like you had a couple of years ago as you were getting underway as a rookie with Rivers? What do you think his growth will be in the pass-catching department?
He had 88 catches last year. You'd think he probably wants at least 100.
Easy,
right?
Yeah. Easy. There's any question about it. But cannot wait to talk to Michael Pittman Jr., who's going to join us on this show coming up tomorrow. Should be highly entertaining. He's a very entertaining fellow anyway. Yeah, I know. I'd love to go to camp, but this noon practicing and obviously trying to rework this so the start of the season is not all hassled up as it has been. It's kind of affected me a little bit. Because I'm going, wait a minute. Well, I can't go out and sit in the parking lot here. Yeah, later on this week, Backyard Bourbon broadcast. I'll make that announcement either later on today or coming up tomorrow. I aired yesterday the friendly Tavern Tour stop with Heaven Hill Distillery is not Thursday. It is the 25th. Is that the day? So I think I told you and mistakenly told a lot of you yesterday we're going to be out on Thursday at the Friendly in Zionsville. That is coming up on the 25th. So that is my bad right there. But we will be out and we will be about. With that, there's no question about it. So what are we hoping if we talk about it enough it will make it better? It pretty much a done. I have no idea what the hell that means. Now, here's why you bring it up. I'll give you a little insight here for those that may not know. All right, one reason why that I brought up what I brought up regarding Mike Strachan is because Mike Strachan was taken off the PUP and then immediately thrown into action today. Of these stories going out in a light workout today, that is one of the higher priority stories. Thus, on the afternoon sports show here, we talk about it. I'm just trying to educate you. This is what Phil Steele's going to do college football-wise for you in the 4 o'clock hour. So for Colts or Fine Guy here, I'll educate you. That was a big story out there. Thus, I talked about it today. And I corrected somebody that felt that this tweet Zach Kiefer sent out was calling for, and this is my words, not his, a rejuvenated wide receiving room because of the return of Mike Strachan. It is the hope of that. The reason why it's brought up is because that is a story, if not the story coming out of Colts camp. It changes on a daily basis, but keep in mind, it's that position that people question the most. So what do we end up talking about the most with Colts fans? That. Every time. I mean, everything else, I don't know if there's anything else other than Matthew Pryor at left tackle that even comes close to that. So that's why it's talked about often. That's why I brought it up today. I'm assuming that's why it's been brought up earlier in the day. And the other part of it is I put my own thought into it. It's not like I'm going to listen to other shows and just parrot off of what they say. Give you some half-ass prep. I don't do that. No, this is from my clearly educated opinion on it. And I'm not just throwing out stuff for the sake of throwing out stuff or saying, hey, I got this insight, blah, blah, blah. No, you guys know that in terms of Colts information, I know what I'm talking about. So that's why you start there, and that's why we end up talking about this subject, because this is an incredibly important season. And there has been a hole in their offensive game, and that has been it. And you look at it right now as one guy, as I mentioned, who's going to join the show tomorrow, Michael Pittman Jr., that you believe you can count on, and then everybody else is kind of a jump ball. It's not the same with Jonathan Taylor. You pretty much expect what you're going to get out of him. One of, if not the best at the position. The offensive line, mine is still a question mark at left tackle. Better be top-notch. Defensive line, better be top-notch. The only other thing that's worthy of talking about, even at that level, is when Shaquille Leonard is going to be back. And I'm assuming before the start of the season. So a little bit of an education right there. You bring it up because from Colts camp in Westfield today, that was one of the storylines. And then you get Colts fans wanting to talk about it. And that's why we roll with it. And that's why it's probably the most often asked question that we respond to. It's important to a lot of people. Colts are fine. So here's to you understanding a little bit more. You're going to get an education just like that. That was like a sports talk radio education. Like wouldn't I be such a good consultant? Like consultants, radio consultants are so full of crap. Seriously, so full of crap. I would be, because I've done it. I've done it, and I continue to do it all. I would be a great consultant. I wouldn't be one of those guys that's never done it, but now is consulting. Yeah, you've never done it, so you're going to tell me how to do this at Indy. Okay. I'd be great because I've actually done it here, so I know. I'd be great because I've done music here in Indy, and I know. I think somebody would hire me in a consulting role. Now, I will say this. If it's Chicago or Philadelphia or St. Louis, I really wouldn't have the foggiest idea. I wouldn't expect anybody to listen to me with that. But, yeah, around here, I got a pretty good plan. Pretty good idea. Would you listen to me consult you?
If we're talking about radio, yeah.
Is that the only thing?
Probably, yeah.
Do I not even scratch like three? You can't even come up with three things that you would allow me to give you consultation?
For some reason, if I needed 80s music or TV
80s
knowledge,
music, I'll take that.
I don't know why I would need that. Maybe if I was going on Jeopardy.
I think I am kind of working in an obsolete category here a little bit, right? Of things I can offer and things actually people want, right? That are important to them.
Would not be how to smoke a brisket. I would not go to you for that.
I burned the crap out of that stuff. Shout out to Mike Wells. The Big Green Egg. Mark Sign. Nothing else. This is it.
Yeah, that's it. Not even basketball.
Ooh. That cuts
just because
deep
I don't
there.
believe that, 96 out of 100 from the top of the key.
Hold on a second. There was proof. I tweeted out the picture of the ticket back in April. There's proof. You can't make that up.
Proof of a ticket. There's not proof.
Actually, the ticket was inaccurate. The ticket was inaccurate because it counted a shot. It counted 101 that I actually did not attempt because I couldn't get up there and shut the gun off quick enough. 79 for 100 is what it was. You don't think I can hit that high school 3-pointer is a layup? Who the hell can't shoot that?
I think you were actually shooting layups.
Layups would be tough to get over that gun. I think, to me, the jump shots would be easier to get more off than it would layups over that gun. The layups would be tough, having to play underneath that net of the gun. There's one dude that was actually in there watching it. Hey, JMV, there's no doubt in my mind that left tackle, not wide receiver, is still the biggest variable. If we're sold there, at least 10 wins. If not, it's 9 or less. Listen, I would expect this, and this is nothing at all against Michael Pittman Jr., who we'll talk to coming up tomorrow. I would think, and I know left tackle is completely different, Mark. I'm not suggesting you don't have a point here, which you do. But to me, I look at it as this offensive line, minus what we don't know regarding Matthew Pryor moving forward, still should be top-notch. I don't think that Michael Pittman Jr. makes up if the rest of that wide receiving group has incredible shortcomings like the offensive line can make up or help make up for a left tackle. I know that that's dangerous territory. You're talking about protecting a quarterback's blind side, and we saw the issues that Eric Fisher had a year ago in doing that. That is not negative either. It is truth. Here's the problem that you have. The problem that everybody has out here is you want to hear the truth, but then when you hear the truth, you don't like what is said, and then you go, oh, it's just so negative. No, listen, I would be as truthfully positive with this group. I want to be. There's nobody I want to be more positive about, and you know this, than Nyheim Hines. I mean, everybody jumps on board with the give Nyheim Hines the ball. But I started that. That was me. Actually, I think I started this entire wide receiver phenomenon too, but I know I started the Nyheim Hines thing. Jim Reamer says one dude saw it. He was the only guy in the Whiteland gym with me at the time. I've got proof. There's a receipt. If you go back to mine, I can't do it right now. I don't know how I'd do it. But you go back to my timeline at some point at the end of April. That receipt is right there. 79. It says 79 of 101, which is BS. It was really 79 of 100 because I'm shooting 3-point layups in high school. It's a layup.
Can't we just go down to the MS court in the basement and recreate it?
Yeah, so I can shoot jumpers that bounce off the ceiling. That's pretty cool. See, there's no way the gun wouldn't work down there because with the gun, you've got to put some arc on it, and the arc's not happening in the MS building. What are they going to do with that? Are they going to be somebody's condo one of these days? What are they going to do with that downstairs? Haven't even thought about that, have we? All right, quick break, and we'll come back. I mentioned, too, the college football education that is necessary for everybody. Phil Steele is going to join us in the 4 o'clock hour. Stephen Holder, ESPN.com, and the 5. Greg Rakestraw is going to join us coming up next. Wham Fest tickets, wine, music, microbrew, not necessarily in that order, entertainment, and more. I've got tickets for you. I'll tell you on the other side the song that you're listening for. That will be your cue to call and to be caller number 9. Wham Fest tickets in Greenwood at Craig Park this weekend. It will be a blast on Saturday. That's coming up. 93.5, 107.5. The stream, the app, HD radio, and you got us inside the lounge via YouTube Live and Facebook Live. Greg Rakestraw joins us next.
Alice in Chains and Breaking Benjamin. Live in concert this summer with Bush, plus special guests. Tomorrow night at Ruoff Music Center. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Get up and get outside this summer with Alice in Chains and Breaking Benjamin.
Circle K is America's thirst stop. And yours, especially when the weather gets... and you need to stay refreshed on the go with ice-cold Circle K favorites like freshly ground iced coffee, Froster, Polar Pop Cup, and more. Think of it as the ultimate thirst-quenching, totally rehydrating summer splash zone. When life's go, 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 make us your first stop. Because Circle K is America's thirst stop.
Hey, it's JMV for the 14th Central Indiana Joe Childers Run. CarX locations helping your car, truck, or van maintain that road readiness, especially during these times. And here's why. We're talking back to school for everybody. Check out their free back to school inspection going on right now at your 14 local Central Indiana CarX locations. This inspection includes tires, brakes, the battery, oil and fluids, AC, wiper blades, so much more. So here's what I want you to do. Make an appointment. Contact your CarX manager at one of the 14 locations here in Central Indiana. Make sure you ask for the free back-to-school inspection appointment. Do that today. 14 Central Indiana locations of CarX. My friend Joe Childers does it up. It is fantastic. And to find a location nearest you for back-to-school inspections, it's CarX.com today.
Big Red Liquors, big cash giveaway. This month, Big Red Liquors is giving away 4 $500 gas cards. Yes, you could win a $500 gas card. Stop in at any Big Red Liquors to enter. It's free. Must be 21 to enter. No purchase necessary.
Turn to the experts at Howald Heating and Carrier for all your plumbing needs. Howald Heating, Air, and Plumbing, where you can trust your flush to us.
Do you know a volunteer who deserves a year's worth of free vehicle maintenance? Tell us their story and nominate them. Click the Do More tab at jiffylubeindiana.com.
Last year, the Westfield Shamrocks made it to Lucas Oil Stadium for the 6A championship, while New Pal lost in the 5A regional championship. The Shamrocks take a long drive to the east side to take on the New Pal Dragons. It's a clash under Friday night lights, presented by CarX. Don't worry, call the CarX team. Eddie Garrison has the kickoff Friday night at 7. Friday Night Football on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan. The Ride with JMV.
What did you say? I said we need a water break. You need a water break. Water is for cowards. Water makes you weak. Water is for washing blood off that uniform, and you don't get no blood on my uniform. Boy, you must be outside your mind.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, you better crank it up. She's going to be on stage not long from now, right? The Rock Show at Lucas Oil Stadium starts a little bit later on. It's Joan Jett right there. What is the theme song from the early 2000s? It is a cult classic television show that Bad Reputation by Joan Jett is from. Jebediah, you said it earlier.
Freaks and Geeks.
Freaks and Geeks right there.
It should be a federal crime that season only got, that show only got one season.
I think it got 2, didn't it?
I can't remember. Regardless, it was way too short, and they left a bunch of plot lines unfinished.
Hey, Jebediah, man, did Linda Cardellini do a little something for you back in the day, Jebediah? You got a girlfriend, Jebediah? Is she listening right now? No, just go ahead and say it, man. Come on, say it. Cardellini didn't do anything for you back then? I can't comment. I'm going to plead the fifth. All right, man. All right. Phil Steele, top of the hour. All you need to know about the start of the college football season in one interview. We all get educated coming up at 4. Stephen Holder, ESPN.com, at the 5. Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline. Joining us now, Greg Rakestraw. Hello, Greg.
Hello, sir.
Were you a big Freaks and Geeks guy?
I was not a big Freaks and Geeks guy, but I'm a big fan of Linda Cardellini. She did something for me when she was in ER. How about that?
Oh, yeah. I forgot she was in ER for a little bit there. Yeah. So, hey, I want to ask you this before we get started. We got a couple of things to hit, including the Colts, but and I don't have her name in front of me. The girl from Noblesville, which is going to UConn, right, has decided to transfer to La Lumiere. And listen, I'm not in the family. I'm not the girl. At the same time, I'm just telling you from my standpoint, it would be tough for me. And certainly it'd be tough for one of my kids if they were at that particular level of skill set to bail in your senior season from a place that you love so much. That would be incredibly tough.
It is, and I know some of the backstory, and I'm frankly not at liberty to share some of the backstory. I would say this. Again, what you said is very accurate, and it is always... 5-10 years from now, I think staying at Noblesville for your senior year would always be looked upon more favorably than saying you're from Indiana, but you didn't play your senior year for your home high school and your home community. So I know some of the backstory to this, and I understand where she and the family are coming from, but I tend to think it's a mistake to walk away from a place like Noblesville where you just won a state championship and have one more year left to go.
Well, and I know I'm not trying to compare the two here. I'm just going to give you a subject and an example that I always kind of lean on when stuff like this happens here with Indiana high school sports. Paul Scruggs, Paul Scruggs thought he was making a great decision, but to me, Paul Scruggs' decision was to become the best you can be at Southport with Kyle Simpson. That's going to be your legacy. And when you decide to do what he did, and whether or not you view going to Xavier and it's worked out for him, doesn't matter. To me, you lose your legacy that you created and that you could continue by making that decision to bail when you did, if you were him.
You said the key word is legacy. And in the case you bring up, is Paul a fantastic basketball player? Absolutely. Did Paul get to play major college basketball? Yes, he did. I don't know where he's playing. I'm assuming he's playing someplace professionally coming up this summer. Absolutely. But how Paul is remembered in Southport and kind of statewide, and I'm not sure Paul would have been Mr. Basketball. I can't remember who was back in his class that year. I think he's Chris Wilkes' age, if I remember right, 2017. Sounds about right. Again, it's different, but in this specific case, this is Miss Basketball walking away from being Miss Basketball. This means you're not playing for the Indiana All-Star team. You're still going to play at UConn. Frankly, there's a good chance that she's a WNBA player. And again, I know some of the circumstances behind the move, but there's a lot of things I think that are not being considered in this decision.
So Greg Rakestraw with us via the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I'm still sure there's going to be more to that story. I want to move on, though, to the start of the high school football season. Eddie Garrison has got the call with Jim Leisure here coming up on Friday, which I think is an awesome starter, Westfield and New Pal. And when you think about high school football from top to bottom, certainly much more wide open than when we started the season this time a year ago.
Yeah, that's the story. The story is that there are so many great teams locally in 6A, and there are so many great teams locally in 4A, and two of them are facing each other in different classes in the game that will be on the Fan on Friday night in terms of Westfield and New Pal, albeit Ben Davis and Brownsburg. Center Grove and Warren obviously going to be a fantastic game. You know, it's somebody from out of state, but Trinity and Carmel, that game has been really good when those two teams have gotten together. Chatard and Brebeuf, followed by, or I think Harrison and West Lafayette might be first. I think both those games are really good. So there's not exactly a lack of quality matchups that are taking place here in week number one. But yes, that is the storyline. You know, Cathedral being in 6A, Center Grove coming back to the pack a little bit. I'm not sure there's much that separates the top 5 or 6 teams in 6A this year. More often than not, the exception would have been 3 years ago, when a team from Center Grove that largely played sophomores and juniors made it to the state championship game when they were 4-5 during the regular season. I'm not sure you'll see something like that this year, but that's the one time in the last 5 or 6 years. But there has not been a definitive favorite in 6A, and that team has been lived up to the expectations. 5A is wide open, and 5A is largely bereft of teams from the Indianapolis area, because New Pal is back in 4A. Cathedral and Zionsville have made the jump to 6A. So can somebody in 5A outside of the Indianapolis metro area win a championship? But whoever wins in 5A will likely be a team that has not done it before. In 4A, it's loaded. Brebeuf goes up to 4A on enrollment. Mount Vernon won last year's state championship. Roncalli is once again mammoth up front, led by Trevor Lauk along that offensive line. Mooresville has a really good football team this year. So, there's a couple different groupings here, but I think the story is going to be the competitive parity that we see in Central Indiana this time around.
I guess the reason why I bring this up, Greg, is because you saw a lot in Hamilton County from Fishers and Hamilton Southeastern may decide to go ahead and move and, maybe have their kids go to or attend, scholastically speaking, athletically speaking, Mount Vernon. Where do those 3 schools in proximity with one another compare athletically across the board now, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, Mount Vernon is still different, and the example would be is that Noblesville, who tends to be towards the back half of the Hoosier Crossroads Conference, beat Mount Vernon in week 1 last year, and then Mount Vernon pretty much ran the table, from that point in time on. Obviously, had a real battle with Roncalli, but found a way to beat a bigger and more physical team in Roncalli. It'll be the regional round, I suppose, last year before then beating Memorial in the semi-state and really not being threatened at all by Northridge in the championship game. So even though those schools are at the same level in terms of basketball, in terms of being a 4A school. The level of football they play is completely different. Now, that doesn't mean Mount Vernon's not very good. They are. And they've got the Burhen kid that'll play at Purdue this year. They had guys like Sluniker and Keegan LaBelle that have since graduated and moved on. You know, that was a really good Mount Vernon team that graduated a lot of pieces off of it. So Mount Vernon continues to get better. But in terms of saying comparing them from an athletic standpoint to an HSE or Fishers, there's still not that comparison to be made just yet.
He is Greg Rakestraw with us. Before I move on to the Colts and our final couple of questions, compare eyeball the two rosters right now in your head. Center Grove, Cathedral, which team football-wise you think to start the season has more talent on their respective roster?
I would say Cathedral. And again, Center Grove is always going to be good because of the system that Eric Moore has built. But that group that went through the last 2 years, that is a once-in-a-generational type of group that went through, you know. And I was actually having this conversation. It's amazing how much high school football I talk at Colts practices because I was having this conversation earlier this afternoon. You know, Caden Curry, and you heard me say this numerous times, one of the 3 or 4 best high school football players I've ever seen in my 20 to 25 years of doing this. But around him, you had a young man that's going to the University of Louisville, a young man that's going to Miami of Ohio, and Owen Green that's playing at the University of Indianapolis. I mean, you've got 3 Division I and a very high-level Division II kid that you somehow have got to replace. And, your starting quarterback from last year in the last 3 years is now going to be at the University of Tennessee. And there are other high-end college kids that graduated off of that team. You know, they're not going to go 2-7. But I'm not sure they're going to go 7-2 either, just because everybody catches up with them a little bit, you know, from last year. As far as Cathedral is concerned, they graduated a lot. They tend to have more higher-end, high-level Division I talented kids coming back. The Gilbert kid at one defensive end. Obviously, you know Patrick Kendall very well the way that I do. That's going to play at West Point. And he's 6'5" and 285. And was listed as a backup last year. Now let's go to the other side of the ball where you've got Danny O'Neill that's the top quarterback recruit in the state as a junior. And if it wasn't for, I want to say the McCahill kid's great year 2 years ago, could have been the starter as a freshman at Cathedral 2 years ago. Jerron Tibbs, I think, is a Division I level basketball player, but is going to be a football player at Purdue. So Cathedral has some heavy graduation losses to kind of recover from as well, but they've got more high-end individual talent to me on their group this year than does Center Grove.
I think Patrick Kendall's going to Army, right?
That is correct. Yes, sir.
He is. He's going to have a good year up there, and I know his dad and mom will be very happy that we're talking about it right here too.
Well, since I talked to his dad about 2.5 hours ago, absolutely we will be.
Great straw.
Happens to go to college when you go to college with both mom and dad and have these conversations on a somewhat regular basis.
No doubt about that. Greg Rakestraw is with us. Hagerstown, what type of Cinderella story regarding Little League play are we talking about here with that community in Eastern Indiana?
It's pretty significant, and I remember. Was it Falls River? Does that sound right? A community from Massachusetts where they won the Little League title at some point in the last 10 to 15 years. And it was a community, I think, of maybe 5,000 to 8,000, you know, something along those lines. You know, it used to be so uncommon when the American team would win the Little League World Series that, you know, we could remember them easily. Kirkland, Washington, 1982. There was the 30 for 30s done about those kids like 30 years later. Trumbull, Connecticut with Chris Drury in 1989. Sean Burroughs in Long Beach before he then went to the Major League Baseball in the early to mid 90s. Now it's a bit more common. Obviously, last year it happened because there were no international teams in the field. But to your point, Hagerstown, the deeper they go, the bigger the story this will be because it's a town of 1,700 people. To put this in Indiana perspective, I think their enrollment for their high school is about 350 or 400. I mean, this is a 2A school that is playing for the Little League World Series championship and didn't just win their state tournament, but won their regional tournament as well. So again, if they can get a couple of wins and they can get a little bit deeper into this tournament, then this is going to become kind of a nationwide story. about this small town that has a chance to win a World Series.
It is amazing, no doubt about that. All right, Mike Strachan was back. I'm curious. You got to be hoping that he can contribute this year. How do you think they're going to handle this wide receiving group, given what they believe in him, even though he hasn't shown the ability to be out there actually trying to participate on a field in a real game yet?
Let's face it. I think they're going to carry 5, maybe 6 at wide receiver. I'm kind of leaning more towards 5. Obviously, Mike Pittman, Paris Campbell, Alec Pierce, and Ashton Newland, because of, again, what Ashton does both offensively and special teams, are going to make the team. I think it's an open competition after that. I don't think there's a guaranteed spot for Mike Strachan. I don't think there's a guaranteed spot for Desmond Patman. I don't think there's a guaranteed spot for DeMichael Harris. I don't think there's one for Kiki QT. I think it is going to be who's available. I thought it was noteworthy that I saw both Desmond Patman and Mike Strachan getting some reps as punt gunners today in the very limited practice the Colts had in Westfield, knowing they're saving their energy for mixing up with the Lions each of the next couple of days. So, Strachan was out there and looked good in practice. DeMichael Harris was back out there in practice as well. But I really think it's going to come down to maybe who has the best next couple of weeks, who can be the most versatile in terms of what they can do from a special team standpoint. I don't think it's a guarantee that any of those guys make the roster on September the 11th. I also do think the Colts could go waiver wire shopping at the end of August as well. If there's a veteran wide receiver that they think might be more appropriate to fill that 5th or 6th wide receiver spot. So
I've told everybody to expect that, by the way.
So. Right. I think there's going to happen at a few places, to be honest with you, in terms of the backups. In other words, I don't really have many question marks in terms of this team's starting lineup, but in terms of some depth pieces, I do. So I think that's one of them. But anyway, will he give it a chance to make the roster? Yes. Is it a sure thing he makes the roster? Absolutely not.
Have you been downtown today? It looks like 1986 down here.
I was downtown briefly, and I was trying to be. I was in the studio for like 10 minutes, and I was trying to be quick, so I avoided a parking ticket because I didn't know you're not supposed to park in front of the Emmis building anymore. That has completely gone no parking. What's going on?
I don't know. They sell that spot. I'm joking. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. Good question.
Oh.
I didn't. Oh. Well, I mean, I know that there's something out there right now where there's some kind of game, some game van that's the ping pong and stuff in front of the building. I think
it's like this public pop up at every Tuesday and Thursday. It's like this playscape because obviously we need to spend more time acting like 12-year-olds in this world. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, but thankfully the officer was nice and they said, Ted, hey, we just changed this to no parking. I'm like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm leaving. No problem. And anyway, so why does it look like 1986 downtown? What did I miss?
Because you got Motley Crue, Def Leppard, Joan Jett, and Poison tonight. And if 1986 were really, really old, if they would go stand in front of the old Champs location, right, and that would be just an emptied out building with nothing in there, and just take a picture, it would look like 1986, right there, because that's what 1986 looked like down here. A lot of empty buildings.
If I had stock in Aquanet, now would be the time to cash in, is what you're telling me?
Yeah, it's going to be a blast. I hope everybody can hang in there later on tonight. Plus, Greg, the roof and the window are both going to be closed, so you talk about some contact highs that are going to be had in there. That means everything, the ventilation, I guess, is pretty good there, but still a lot of what is happening is going to stay in the place.
Let's see if you and I name the same concert here. The biggest contact high you've ever had at a concert was what?
Pink Floyd, RCA Dome, or Hoosier Dome back in 1994, the Division Bell Tour.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me.
And a lot of that came out of the bathroom, I think. But yes.
For me, and I know that you were at the same show, 9 Inch Nails 95, this Pepsi blanking place, as Trent Reznor called it back then. Literally, as he took the stage, you saw the cloud go to the top of the building. So that would rank up there for me.
Yeah, I think any kind of buzz that I had did wear off. The one time I saw the Jim Rowe Circus Sideshow and that guy carry that cinder block on a chain around the stage with his scrotum, I was pretty much off of any buzz I was going to have. Yeah.
And again, I cannot give him the actual name, but the dude that had the jigsaw puzzle tattooed all over his body.
I can't remember either.
Was that the guy that carried her? Was it a different?
He might have been the guy that slithered through the tennis racket.
Right, that was the guy that was like double jointed everywhere, and of note, it wasn't like an oversized racket. This was like the one that Connors played with in '74. It was an old wood racket that he fit through. I'm not sure it was graphite.
But no, Pink Floyd at the top of the list. That place was incredibly cloudy, if you know what I mean, right there.
Well, just remember that the guy that had the human puzzle piece, I had breakfast with him at Denny's on 38th Street after the concert. Hand to God. Otherwise, I went there with him. I literally sit next in the booth, and he is there talking about English literature. And it was the greatest lesson I've ever had in never, ever judge a book by its cover.
That's awesome, buddy. I appreciate you, and you have a great time on Saturday doing the game again. You guys did a great job on Saturday afternoon. Well done.
Appreciate that.
You got it, Greg. Thank you. Greg Rakestraw, the Andy Moore Automotive Group Hotline. The Jim Rose Circus Sideshow. Anybody seen that? Literally, this guy, this is 1995, 9 Inch Nails, and then somebody else I can't think of right now, and the Jim Rose Circus Sideshow. And Kyle, this dude literally carried a cinder block chained to his scrot across the stage.
I think that'd make me throw up if I saw that in person.
Yeah, this guy's, I don't know how he can walk. He walk around now still. Because part of him is going to get to where he's going before the rest of him does. This is incredible. But Pink Floyd not the Pink Floyd where the dude dove off the upper deck and landed on people below. But the Pink Floyd of, I want to say 94, I think it was, Division Bell. Quick break and we'll come back. Phil Steele, top of the hour, is going to be can't miss for college football. I promise you that. Stephen Holder of ESPN.com of the 5. It's 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Before they break the streak of 8 consecutive opening day losses, the Colts need to practice.
But we talking about practice, man. What are we talking about? Practice?
Yeah, practice.
Recap practice. Follow the Colts' progress through camp with daily in-depth updates from Kevin Bowen.
It's been pretty uneventful.
At 1075thefan.com.
Making sure we have enough depth.
Your home for complete Colts coverage.
Who are we as a team?
Is 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, it's John here for Race Trash Service. That's racetrash.com, the best in recycling, waste disposal, and jobs for drivers and non-drivers right now with a great company, family operated since the 1960s. Great pay, incredible benefits. So if you have a commercial driver's license, go ahead and log on and apply today. Or if you're a non-driver and just want a new career kickstart, all new company, a great company, that's it for you. But the best in recycling and waste disposal, they do it for all the biggies around here. Why not you and certainly me? Log on and get the best in waste disposal and recycling now. Racetrash.com.
Come out to the Indiana State Fair for the All In Festival September 3rd and 4th. There'll be tons of artists that you'll enjoy listening to all day long.
Bowling, 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 keep them balls a-rolling. Bowling, 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 Royal Pin.
It's time to sign up for a league at any of the Royal Pin locations. They have leagues for beginners who just want to have fun and competitive leagues for longtime bowlers. All bowlers are welcome. Don't have a team? Don't worry. They'll match you up with a team. It's easy. Just sign up for a league at royalpin.com or stop into one of the centers. Plus, download the Open Lane app and become a rewards member. League bowlers get games for just $1.75 throughout the week, so don't wait to join.
Set them up, knock them down, send them flying, spinning round.
For more information, call 465-8484 or visit royalpin.com.
Royal Pin, bowling, bowling. Royal Pin.
The best in realty, Mark Dietel, 317-755-4232. It's markdietel.com, markdietel.com. Today, thinking about put your home on the market, your property, you want something new, just want to see what you can get, go with the best, and that's Mark Dietel. He'll guarantee multiple offers in 3 days for full market value, or he will list it for free. I'm telling you, we only go with the best. Mark Dietel is just that in realty. 317-755-4232. That's markdietel.com. Tell him I sent you today. markdietel.com.
O'Reilly. Don't risk getting stranded with a bad battery. Our professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts will test your battery for free. If your battery does need to be replaced, we'll help you find the best battery for your vehicle and your budget. Don't wait until your battery is dead. Get it tested for free today at your local O'Reilly Auto Parts store.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Oh, while we're in lawn and garden, I was thinking I should pick up one of those little things for watering my plants.
A hose?
No, the things that look like teapots, but for plants. You tip it over and it goes blah, 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 blah.
You're good at describing words you've forgotten.
Like those things that give the plants a shower, that you fill up.
A watering can?
Yes, a watering can. I knew that.
We're good at your insurance. Find an Indiana Farm Bureau insurance agent online, over the phone, or in person, and stop knocking on wood.
Do you need air conditioning service and need to find a local well-trained expert you can trust, like B&W Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning? Find that American Standard Air dealer at IndyHomeComfort.com.
Make the short trip to experience Antler Point Golf Course in Rushville, less than an hour from Indy. Give Antler Point in Rushville a swing. AntlerPointGolf.com. That's point with an E.
The Red Sox and Orioles play in Williamsport on Sunday Night Baseball. The coverage begins at 6 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Smokey, this is not Nam. This is bowling. There are rules.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Greg Rakestraw podcast, 1075thefan.com. BT's in line. The main gates aren't open yet. Only the side gates. Line wraps around the front. Hope you guys are all in. This show gets underway with Joan Jett, I believe, at about 4:30 or so. The Joan Jett Poison, Def Leppard, and Motley Crue. That is a rock show going on down at Lucas Oil Stadium this afternoon and tonight. Enjoy it. Got Alice in Chains coming up tomorrow night. Yacht Rock Review on Friday. Who's the country guy that's out there on Saturday? Luke Bryan, like three of them. Luke Bryan, who was there last weekend? Jason Aldean. So I think it's Luke Bryan this weekend, right? I'm assuming we gave away tickets to it at some point. Hopefully start doing that and doing it more often again. Shout out to Live Nation for it. Quick break and we'll come back. I want you to be as educated as possible. Started the college football season almost here. We must hear from the authority. Phil Steele. Phil Steele's college football preview. Everything you need to know is next.
School is in session.
Dave McGinnis, Titans radio analyst. How are you with the minute-by-minute reaction to every pass or every run? I always thought practice is where we made mistakes and got better.
You're 100% right. Practice is for practice. And practice is sometimes, depending on the stage of development you're in, is putting yourself in a position to challenge yourself and get a feel for. And the only way to do it is live in practice.
Dan Dockage, weekdays noon to 3 on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Connecticut Water, the absolute best. It is John, it is Joe, and the Premier Series water softener, the K5 in-home drinking water station for a great price right now. If you don't have Connecticut, you don't have the best. And I'm just thinking about everything that you love about water in your home. Bathing, drinking, certainly the scent. It can't always be the best, and certainly it's not if it's not Connecticut right now. And you need to hydrate better, right? Hydrate better with the K5 in-home drinking water station. The Premier Series, the K5, incredible pricing right now at the two locations of Connecticut. Northeast side, Castleton, South side, US 31, and Southport Road. The Connecticut Water app. Download that to your smartphone or device today or online, ConnecticutIndy.com.
Is your retirement withdrawal strategy built for a looming recession? Do you know which accounts you should draw from first? What are common pitfalls? How can you minimize your tax bite? Join Edelman Financial Engines today at 2 p.m. or 8 p.m. Eastern for our timely virtual event, Recession and Your Retirement Withdrawal Strategy. You can register for free at planefe.com. We'll look at financial pitfalls to avoid and how to help make sure your financial plan is built to last. Whether it's sequence of withdrawals, when to start taking Social Security, or staying diversified, we'll help you understand the steps you can take to make sure your financial plan can work for you. Don't miss this important virtual event. Join us for Recession and Your Retirement Withdrawal Strategy, today at 2 p.m. or 8 p.m. Eastern. There's no cost to attend and no obligation. Register now at planefe.com. That's planefe.com. Edelman Financial Engines. From here forward.
Hey, you got to check that cooling unit, make sure it's still working for you, keeping you cool and comfortable in your home and working efficiently so it doesn't cost you money. That's where John and Chris Love at Love Heating and Air enter the situation at 317-353-2141. The best in the business to help make sure that everything is running smoothly. You're always prepared and you're always cool and comfortable in your home while it's not costing you money while working and efficiently. So get your system a checkup today with John and Chris Love at Love Heating and Air. 317-353-2141 online. Love-HVAC.com today.
The Mower Shop in Fishers featuring Spartan mowers. They have the perfect mower to fit any yard, any size, anytime. TheMowerShop.com and 317-849-9500.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
WIBC HD2 W298BB. WIBC HD3 W228CX. Indianapolis. New Coliseum hosts Westfield on Friday Night Football. The action begins at 7 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
And you could tell Rolling Stone magazine that my last words were, I'm on drugs.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, welcome back. Stephen Holder coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. The song for your Wham Fest tickets in Greenwood on Saturday. The song I want you to listen for is UB40 and Red Red Wine. Coming up later on. That'll get you a couple of tickets to Wham Fest in Greenwood. That's going to be outstanding. The celebration of wine, microbrews, entertainment, lots of music going on down there, lots to eat, and a great deal of fun. That's on Saturday, Craig Park in Greenwood. Your chance to win. Again, your cue to call and be number 9 when you hear UB40's Red Red Wine. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, just sit back, relax, and soak it all in. This time of year, nobody better to have on the show to talk about college football in the upcoming season than from College Football Preview, Phil Steele joins us now. Hope everything's going okay.
Hey, a real pleasure, John. Always enjoy our conversations, my friend.
All right, let's start here in Big Ten country. And outside of the realm, we'll get to Ohio State and some of the front runners in a second. But, yeah, it was a dismal season in Bloomington a year ago. A lot of expectations coming off a nice season during the COVID year for Tom Allen's crew. And it was a resounding thud. Can they pull out of what was a year ago in Bloomington football-wise, Phil?
Yeah, there's a lot of indicators pointing up for Indiana this year. You start with the fact they were minus 13 in turnovers last year. They had poor YPPs in all categories. The stock market indicator gives them a huge plus 7.1. So a lot of indicators pointing up. I think they'll have a much better season. Of course, last year sort of went south when Michael Penix wasn't 100% the start of the year, then went down to injury, ended up playing 5 quarterbacks during the course of the season. That's never a good sign. This year, they've got 2 quite capable QBs, Connor Bazelak, Jack Tuttle. You look at the running back core led by Sean Shivers, an impressive transfer from Auburn. Also, North Carolina transfer Josh Henderson. They've got dangerous receivers in Emory Simmons and DJ Matthews. And defensively, I expect them to be much improved over last year, even though, last year they only gave up 386 yards per game, but the 33.3 points per game caused by the minus 13 in turnovers. So I think Indiana's going to be flirting with a bowl bid this year. I don't expect them to get back to the level they had in 2020, which was contending for the Big Ten East title, but I do think they have a good, strong possibility of getting back to a bowl game.
It is Phil Steele with us from College Football Preview. He's with us via the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So a much better season in what you're thinking for Tom Allen. Is there a light at the short-term end of this tunnel from a year ago in your estimation, Phil?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, last year was, if it could go wrong, it went wrong for Indiana, and I think that Tom Allen's too good of a head coach to have that happen again. I think they'll have a much better fortune this year.
Meantime, West Lafayette, what do you think about Jeff Brom's crew going into this year, and then with a quarterback that a lot of people were talking about in Aidan O'Connell?
Yeah, and let's talk about last year for starters. An outstanding 9 wins. Knock off the number 5 team in the country in Michigan State. Knock off the number 2 team in the country in Iowa. A couple of impressive wins. And then that big bowl win over Tennessee. Now, quarterback Aidan O'Connell is a guy that, he may not have his top weapon back from last year in David Bell, but he's still got some weapons there on the offense. They bring in Tyrone Tracy coming in from Iowa, Charlie Jones also coming in from Iowa there. The defense, they lose Karlaftis, but they played very good defense last year. In fact, allowed just 22.4 points per game. And schedule-wise, I think that makes them a legitimate contender in the West. I believe there's 5 teams with the capability of winning the West this year: Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota, Nebraska, and Purdue. And Purdue, of the 5, is the only one that doesn't have to face Ohio State, Michigan, or Michigan State. They do have some tough road games: Minnesota, Maryland, Wisconsin, and Illinois. But I think this is a Purdue team very capable of being a contender in the West, and I'm pretty excited to watch what Aidan O'Connell can do now that he's the full-time starter.
Where do you rank him as far as Heisman hopeful possibilities as we start the season? Is he anywhere in that category to you?
He would be if Purdue lives up to the potential that they have. I mean, really, let's face it, with the Heisman contender, you have to be playing for basically a national title contender.
Right.
But if they can knock off Penn State on a Thursday night, September 1st, and he has a big game, he'll be on the national spotlight. Then you look at the fact they play Indiana State, Syracuse, FAU, and then win a couple of key road games, let's say Minnesota and Wisconsin. All of a sudden, he'll be elevating throughout the year. Now, if they get through the season, they've got 3 or 4 wins, then I don't see it as a realistic possibility.
Hey, Phil, I want to play off of what you said a little bit earlier. You lose somebody like David Bell. That's a great deal of offensive output and certainly a huge threat offensively as far as that team is concerned. They have enough, you think, on this squad right now to make up for that?
Yeah, the thing with Coach Brom is that he usually develops the receivers, and they not only lose Bell, they also lose Wright and Anthrop, the top 3 receivers from last year. The piece that you start with is tight end Payne Durham. I think he's going to get a lot of action this year, but I like what I saw out of Brock Thompson late in the year last year, and I also like Tracy and Jones, the transfers. They also brought in Elijah Canyon from Auburn. So I think the way that Brom develops receivers is going to help him. I don't see him, though, on par with the last couple of years receiving corps.
College football conversation, Phil Steele's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So the Big Ten in general here starts with Ohio State. We'll mix in some Michigan, and then where do we go from those top spots in your estimation, Phil?
Yeah, I do think Ohio State and Michigan look to be the top 2 teams this year. When I look at the Buckeyes, I've got them a double-digit favorite in every game. A much-improved defense, 3 Heisman candidates on offense, and C.J. Stroud, Travion Henderson, and Jackson Smith-Njigba. This is a very talented Ohio State team that I'd see them not only getting back to the Big Ten title game, but winning it. The thing with Michigan, I don't think they're as good as last year, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They only return 4 starters. They lose guys like Hutchinson, Ajabo, Ross, Hinton, Hawkins, Hill. But last year they allowed 17 points per game. I see them slipping to 22. But when you look at their schedule, they only have 3 road games prior to playing Ohio State, and they're against Illinois, Indiana, and Iowa. If they somehow get past that game against Iowa, they could very well be undefeated when they play Ohio State. As far as the rest of the East goes, I've got Penn State coming in 3rd. I do think we'll see a resurgence there. Michigan State, I know they're number 15 in the AP poll, but the thing that concerns me about them is that last year they were actually minus 63 yards per game in Big Ten play, so they probably weren't as good as their final record would indicate, and they lose some key players like Kenneth Walker at running back. And Maryland's going to be the tricky one in the East this year. They're explosive offensively, dangerous receiving corps, Talia Tungavailoa at the quarterback spot, and defensively should be improved. And then, as mentioned, I think the West is wide open. I'm calling it a legitimate 5-team race. Wisconsin, even though they only have 3 starters back on defense, is always solid there. Iowa may be the best team in the Big Ten East, but unlike Purdue, they played a tough schedule. They have to draw both Ohio State and Michigan out of the East this year, and that makes it pretty does tough sledding for them, but they'll be back contending at the top. While Minnesota loses its starting offensive line from last year, Coach Fleck told me he's very happy with what he's got coming in. In fact, they brought in a Michigan transfer, Notre Dame transfer. They've got John Michael Schmitz back, and their running backs last year, they were down to their fifth-string running back. They'll be much better there, especially with the return of Mohamed Ibrahim. And then Nebraska was a team that was the opposite of Michigan State last year. They were actually plus 56 yards per game, but had an amazing 8 net close losses. That means you change just one play in those 8 games, they could have been 11-1. They didn't have any close wins. They won their games by 45, 25, 49 points. So I think Nebraska flying under the radar and one of the 5 contenders in the West, along with Purdue.
So Phil Steele joins us. You mentioned this regarding Coach Fleck a little bit earlier, and you mentioned a lot of transfers. I'm curious, from the coaches that you often talk to, is it dependent upon who they're losing and who they're gaining as to how much of a hassle the whole transfer portal has become for all these college coaches?
Yeah, it seems like it a little bit. I know some are very pleased with the fact that they can, if they have a need. You go back to Alabama, for example, this year, John. Alabama had a need at running back, so they go get Jahmyr Gibbs from Georgia Tech. He's an NFL caliber running back. They had an opening at receiver, so they bring in a guy like Jermaine Burton, the leading receiver from Georgia. They really needed a quality left tackle, so they go and get the 3-year starter from Vanderbilt and Tyler Steen, and they probably use another good corner, so they bring in Eli Ricks, one of the best corners in the country from LSU. Very targeted, very solid moves on the transfer portal. I'll tell you, the coaches that are most concerned about it are probably the group of 5 coaches. They're all thinking that they're going to get an underrated player, develop him, turn him into a star, and then boom, he's going to be gone to a Power 5 conference as a junior or a sophomore when they get him. And I think the group of 5 coaches are probably a little more concerned about the transfer portal than necessarily the Power 5 coaches.
What about NIL and how everybody's dealing with that? Because there's another wrinkle that I'm assuming, depending upon what happens, who you're going to get because of it, you probably like, and there's going to be just so many teams, Phil, seemingly, that are going to be left behind with their stars probably bolting and going someplace else because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I talked to some coaches that said they thought they had a guy locked up right as the signing day was coming along, and all of a sudden somebody offered money, and boom, he was gone into another team. So the NIL is definitely something that they really need to get some guardrails put on and make it so it's not just buying players. So it is if the player's actually earning name, image, and likeness.
It's interesting you bring that up, too, because he may very well not have been the starter, but the story the past couple of days has been Miles Brennan out of LSU deciding just to walk away, and he had a laundry list of NIL deals signed that of which he doesn't have to give anything back. To me, if there's something that's going to lead them down this path of having to absolutely find something else, it'd be situations like this where you give so much and then your return on investment is zero.
Yeah, I agree. And I think there are a good number of companies that are actually doing it like that, doing it the way that it was designed, where, you produce and they can be a sponsor for their companies. And then, of course, there's just the boosters that are outright buying the players coming in. So, I mean, it's a twofold type of thing. But, yes, I think if a company gets burned, like in the case of a Miles Brennan, that they'd be less likely to do it in the future.
It's Phil Steele joining us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Alabama, Ohio State, and Georgia. We'll start with the top 3 right there. You always peg them, no doubt about it, to start the season with the rankings in mind. How far ahead of the rest of the country and its teams might they be to start this season, in your estimation, Phil?
Yeah, I do put those 3 ahead, and I think Alabama and Ohio State even have a little bit of an edge over Georgia coming into the season. And, the interesting thing to me, John, was that this year I talked to 120 of the 131 head coaches. Last year when I talked to the head coaches, I would say 90% of them would tell me, Phil, this is the deepest team I've ever had. Because of COVID, everybody was back. We were able to go 3 deep in the spring. I've never had this before. And those teams did well. Which ones did not have that kind of depth? Well, it was your powerhouses. You go back and look at last year, Clemson, which lost a lot of players to the NFL, didn't even make the ACC title game, let alone win the ACC like it normally does. Ohio State not only didn't win the Big Ten, they didn't even make the Big Ten title game. Oklahoma didn't win the Big 12. They didn't even make the Big 12 title game. Heck, even Alabama, which played in the national title game, They lost A&M. They had close wins over Florida where they stopped a 2-point conversion, close win over LSU, and then should have lost to Auburn, a game they needed a miracle comeback in 4 overtimes to win, or else they wouldn't even have made the playoff last year. So I think last year was unusual in the fact that the powers were at a disadvantage with everybody in the country very experienced, 17, 18, 19 returning starters. This year the playing field has been leveled. And when I look at Alabama, you've got the best offensive player in the country, the Heisman winner in Bryce Young, the best defensive player in the country in Will Anderson, and they were much more experienced. Last year they only had 3 returning starters on offense. They were number 124 on my experience chart last year. This year they're number 52. They've got my number 2 offense and number 1 defense. Ohio State is a team that has my number 1 offense. I talked about the 3 Heisman Trophy candidates before, but they should have an improved defense with Jim Knowles, the new defensive coordinator. A lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball, and if they can play cohesively, they'll be much better. Also, the offensive line is strong to go along with those Heisman contenders. And with Georgia, I think they take a step back defensively, but it's not as big as you would think. They lose 8 players to the NFL draft, including 5 first-round draft picks, but my computer has them going from allowing 10 points per game to 16 points per game, which is still one of the top in the entire country. Remember last year, you take away that Alabama game, they gave up 8.6 points per game during the regular season. Remarkable. And they play a lot of players on defense. So they're more experienced than you would think, losing 8 NFL draft picks, and offensively, they should be pretty potent. In fact, they've got my number 2 rated offensive line in the country and a quarterback that's won a national title in Stetson Bennett.
You stay in the SEC just for a moment, too. Tennessee, what do you expect out of the Volunteers this year? And then last week, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Mark Stoops, the football coach, and John Calipari, the basketball coach, I shouldn't say a back and forth. Calipari said something, Mark Stoops responded. I guess here's where I am with Kentucky. Will they be able to back up the words and kind of prove to people that this is more than a legit program in the Commonwealth this season and beyond? Do you believe in the Wildcats football-wise this year?
Well, I think the potential is definitely there. I mean, you look at the quarterback spot, they've got Will Levis, a guy that's potentially a first-round draft pick. I guess my concern with Will Levis is that last year, in their 12 regular season games, 8 times he was held under 200 yards passing. So he's had some great moments, but he hasn't done it on a very consistent basis. Christopher Rodriguez is a solid running back, and I like the defense. What I don't like about Kentucky is the schedule. They have to play Ole Miss on the road. They have to play Tennessee on the road. They have to play Florida in the Swamp, and they also host Georgia. Now, they're going to be an underdog in all 4 of those games. Tennessee, I think, has got a better slate to finishing second in the SEC East. First of all, they've got a very explosive offense. Last year, they averaged 39 points per game on offense, and they've got their quarterback back in Hendon Hooker, who took over the job and started the last 5 games last year. They also have a solid offensive line. Receiving core is one of the better units in the country, as is the running backs. And defensively, that was their problem last year. But all 3 of the defensive units actually rank in my top units, and they're solid on special teams. I rate them my number 10 special teams. And I'll take you back to 2 years ago when Ole Miss was playing Bama. Ole Miss had no business being in that game. But with that explosive offense, they were able to stay with Alabama. It was actually tied in the 4th quarter, and Ole Miss had the ball. So it was a game which they had a shot at winning because of the offense. I think Tennessee's offense gives them that possibility this year. In fact, my computer calls for Tennessee to average 45 points per game. And when you look at their schedule in the SEC, LSU, I think, is a winnable road game. South Carolina could be a winnable road game. They do play Georgia on the road and host Alabama, but I think Tennessee's got the best shot at finishing second in the SEC East this year.
He's Phil Steele with us. Phil, Notre Dame fans are screaming at me right now. I better get on here with a couple of Notre Dame questions. No doubt about that. At number 5, where they check in right now, is that a legit ranking to you, or might it be a little bit too high? What do you place them?
You know, I think it is a legitimate ranking. The schedule doesn't set up well, playing Ohio State in the opening game, playing North Carolina on the road, drawing Clemson at home, and playing USC on the road as well. Those are all tough games, but I think they're capable of doing it. Normally with the first-year head coach, there's a learning curve. You know, he has to learn the players' strengths and weaknesses. Players have to learn new systems. But Marcus Freeman's been there. His defense looks loaded this year. I rate their defense overall number 6 in the country. And offensively, Big fan of Tyler Buchner. I think he's going to have a great job there at QB. The running back core is deep with Tyree, Esteem. They've got good talent there. The receiving core, I've got one of the best tight end rooms in the country, and the offensive line looks solid. And I like the fact they brought Harry Heisted back at the offensive line coach. So even if they take a loss to Ohio State in the opening game, I still think they have a shot at making the playoffs and living up to that number 5 level. And for the record, I think in that opening game against Ohio State, I believe the spread's over 2 touchdowns in it. I think Notre Dame makes that a much closer game and potentially even pulls the upset. So I'm pretty bullish on Notre Dame.
It seems like that's a good play, too, if you're Notre Dame and you're that much of an underdog here, right? Even if you do lose, but you're incredibly competitive, that can set the stage if you have a legit team to be in play at the end of the year, especially if your name is Notre Dame, right?
Absolutely, and they've got the games on the schedule. I mean, BYU's going to have a very good record this year. They're playing them in Vegas. If they come out of there with a win, I think North Carolina's going to be a much improved team this year. You go on the road and beat them, that's going to be a big win. Getting Clemson at home, Clemson figures to be the ACC champion this year, and they get them at home in South Bend. And then USC is my number 1 most improved team in the country. Beat them on the road, and all of a sudden you got a heck of a resume.
Phil Steele joins us. The Cinderella team a year ago, certainly on the national scope, was Cincinnati. They lose a lot of talent to the NFL, one being here in the second round. That's wide receiver Alec Pierce here with the Colts. What about their team moving forward here after what was a Cinderella season of a year ago?
Well, talking to Coach Fickell each and every year, I could tell you that back in 2017 when he took over, that roster was pretty weak. Now this roster is actually so strong that even with the losses from last year, and I'm not talking about just minor losses, you're talking about the best cornerback duo in the country in Sauce Gardner and Kobe Bryant. You're talking about tremendous pass rushers like Myjai Sanders, an outstanding linebacker like Joel DeBlanco, who led the team in tackles, Darian Beavers, their number 2 tackler, all these guys out the door, and offensively lose your quarterback, lose the team MVP and running back Jerome Ford. You're thinking this team might be in a rebuilding year, but Fickell's done a tremendous job recruiting, and if they can get good quarterback play, it comes down between the Eastern Michigan transfer, Ben Bryant, who of course knows Cincinnati's offense because he played there for 3 years, or Evan Prater. I think they'll be in good shape. Now, they do have to play UCF on the road this year, and keep in mind, UCF in the bounce house is 30-2 at home, but other than that, and a road game against Arkansas, I give Cincinnati a good shot at getting back to double-digit wins and perhaps getting it back into the American title game.
It's something you got to see. College football preview. Phil Steele's with us via the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline right now. Certainly Oklahoma's coaching staff was turned inside out this offseason. 2 things here. Oklahoma moving forward, and then the heavy expectations on Lincoln Riley and what might be those expectations in year 1 in Southern California.
2 excellent questions. And, with Oklahoma, generally when you get a transfer quarterback, they have to learn a new system, and they're going to struggle a little bit, right? Well, Dylan Gabriel back in 2019 had a phenomenal year. UCF was one of the nation's most potent offenses. Guess who his offensive coordinator was? It was Jeff Lebby. And who's his offensive coordinator now? It's Jeff Lebby. So I think it's a seamless transition for Dylan Gabriel. Offensive line, they've got one of the best offensive line coaches in the country in Bill Bedenbaugh, and they've got a top 10 offensive line. Brett Venables knows defense and has plenty of talent to work with on that side of the ball. And when I look at Oklahoma last year, I talked about the fact that the power struggled. They were at a disadvantage. But also the fact Oklahoma had 2 road games last year. They played Baylor, which had basically everybody back, and they lost that game on the road in a tight one. And then they lost to Oklahoma State, which had the entire defense back, plus its quarterback last year. This year they get both those 2 teams at home. And the last 3 years that we've played with crowds, talking about 18, 19, and 21, Oklahoma's a perfect 20-0 at home. So I give them an excellent shot at winning the Big 12. In fact, I'll tell you this, John, I've got them favored in all 12 games this year. Now, the USC one is really an interesting thing to me, and it really lets you delve inside how my magazine works. We write the magazine in a 3 write-through process, and the first one is my postseason write-through. And what I do is I've watched every game all season long, and now I read through every single story that was written about that team throughout the entire year. It gives me a great ebb and flow of each position, all the ups, all the downs all season long. Then I write the team. And at that point, when I did the postseason right through on USC, I had a middle of the road in the Pac-12 South. I mean, let's face it, they were 4-8 last year. They had a first-year head coach that had to learn the system or learn the players. Players had to learn new schemes, and they only had 11 returning starters coming back. Well, the second right-through process is when we get the spring roster as well as the any transfers, and they started moving up a little, but not a great amount. Well, the third one is after I talked to the head coach. Now, I'm ironically on the phone with Lincoln Riley the day he signs Jordan Addison. So now all of a sudden, USC's starting quarterback is Caleb Williams, who knows the system. He played for Riley at Oklahoma. He was my number one rated quarterback out of high school last year and was dynamic when he played. They have Mario Williams, who was my number 2 wide receiver out of high school last year at Oklahoma and transferred in. Now they have the Blitnikoff winner in Jordan Addison, a 1,000-yard rusher from Oregon in Travis Dye. And offensive line was a concern of mine, but Coach Riley told me he actually liked the top-end experience that he inherited and didn't expect to have this much talent. Defensively, he brings in about 13 transfers, including Shane Lee, who started 13 games at Alabama as a freshman. Now, all of a sudden, USC goes from middle of the road in the Pac-12 South to my number 1 most improved team and a legitimate contender in the Pac-12 South this year. I think he has a better year than expected.
How close might they be to Utah, for example, which I believe the Running Utes are somewhere inside the top 10, maybe around 7th?
Yeah, I've got Utah as the top team in the Pac-12, and USC has to play them on the road, which is always tough. Utah's got a hell of a home crowd. That's the reason I've got Utah winning the Pac-12 South, but they're close talent-wise, I think, to the Utes. So they're going to give them a game, but it will be on the road. And I think Utah's got the better defense and better offensive line. That should be enough to get the win.
Yeah, I know we're living in the now, but I just kind of want to long-term project out where we're all going to go here. How would you expect a situation like a conference change, for example, from USC and UCLA going to the Big Ten and all the movement that we've been going through again to affect college football recruiting once all these changes take place, Phil?
You know, the interesting thing, like with USC and UCLA, is I think the move to the Big Ten can help the recruiting in the fact that they'll be able to tell the players you can play in the Big Ten, but it could also hurt it because maybe the players out there in California, maybe they don't want to fly all the way to New Jersey to see a game. Maybe they want to stay in driving distance there. So we'll see how that shakes out. But, you know, John, I'm going to take you back to the first year of my magazine, 1995. I wrote about a conference that was called the Southwest Conference that year. They were in their final year. And I tell you what, back then, I was thinking, what is happening with college football? Texas is moving to the Big 8, which is now the Big 12. These teams from the Southwest Conference are moving to the SEC, like Arkansas. What is happening with college football? Are we going to survive? And guess what? It's bigger and stronger than ever. So no matter what the changes are, I think college football will come out of it smelling like a rose.
1995 was the debut issue of this magazine. I've often said this on this show, Phil. Your magazine is still the most often sought out magazine out there. I know that you're in the digital technology phase as well, but if anybody wants just a hard copy magazine still, this is the absolute favorite among all magazines out there, especially this time of year. That's a job well done.
I appreciate that. And, you know, it's something I take great pride in. I know we're the number 1 seller in Barnes & Noble. And Barnes & Noble, by the way, the best place to pick up the magazine right now. But that's really what keeps me going, John. This is 28th year of the magazine, and I'm looking forward to doing 28 more years of the magazine.
Well, you can. You're always welcome here. Before I let you go, who's going to be your Heisman predicted winner as we sit here and talk right now?
Well, you know, you got your top 2 for the Heisman. As always, you got the returning guy in Bryce Young. Bryce Young's problem is that he has got to actually top last year's stats. And last year he threw for almost 5,000 yards with a 47-7 ratio. Anything less than that, folks will say, well, he had an off year. C.J. Stroud from Ohio State pilots the most potent offense in the country. The Buckeyes will be a double-digit favorite in every game. He's my front runner. But if you're looking for a couple of quarterbacks that aren't right at the top, I would say Dylan Gabriel from Oklahoma. As mentioned, he knows the system. Jeff Lebby's his offensive coordinator, and I have Oklahoma favored in all 12 games. And then also, how about a guy like Caleb Williams for USC? We know Lincoln Riley knows how to produce Heisman winners. He's got 2 Heisman winners and another one that was invited there. And I think USC will have an explosive offense. And then if you're looking for somebody that's not a quarterback, I'm going to throw out a defensive player. How about Will Anderson of Alabama?
Nice.
If he has anything like he did last year, then I think he could step up there and get in the Heisman race. He was on my Heisman ballot last year.
It's Phil Steele's College Football Preview. Again, the best place to get the magazine, the hard copy magazine, is at Barnes & Noble right now. PhilSteele.com, and I'm sure just a variety of places you can go and pick it up and read it digitally online right now, correct?
That's right, PhilSteele.com. And, you know, the good thing about the digital magazine, John, is we actually update it all the way through the start of the season. So any players out for the year, we've updated it. Any coaches that, like UAB, for example, that unfortunately Bill Clark had to step down with a back injury, we updated it in the digital magazine already. So your best bet's get the hard copy at Barnes & Noble, and then go to PhilSteele.com and pick up your digital magazine. It'll be updated all the way through the start of the season.
All right, if you want the best in the business of any business, this is it right now with college football. It is Phil Steele. Phil Steele's College Football Preview, and Phil's with us via the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So now after this conversation, we can officially start the college football season around here. Phil, I cannot thank you enough for the insight each and every year at this time. Appreciate you. We'll talk again soon.
Always enjoy our conversations, John. A lot of fun talking football with you, as always.
You got it, Phil. Thank you.
Thank you.
Phil Steele with us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You will not get any better college football conversation than that. That's it. Seriously, that's the peak. That is the peak right now. You are updated. Phil Steele, College Football Preview. I'm going to have to go recalibrate a little bit, man, because that was entertaining with information. Quick break. We're back with you next.
One's faking the handoff. This time last year, the world watched the Colts on Hard Knocks. That
disaster for Indianapolis
didn't go so well.
Unbelievable.
Guess what? They're back. Only this time they're following the Lions straight into joint practice with the Colts.
Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and three toes. I will beat your ass.
And then the game at Lucas Oil Stadium. Colts, Lions, Saturday at 1.
Matt looked pretty sharp.
On 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, Johnny, for LD Smith Plumbing, you want the best in plumbing? I've got the best for you in plumbing. That's Lance and his local team at LD Smith Plumbing. All right. Ask for 83 are free at 317-284-9526, meaning that they'll come out and they'll clear any drain in your home. $83 of the visit is free. That's 83 are free. Any drain in your home with 83 or free with LD Smith Plumbing. The best in local plumbing. Lance and his local team at 317-284-9526. Anything plumbing, especially plumbing emergencies. Always keep the number handy. 317-284-9526. Online, ldsmithplumbing.com today.
If you're a window installer, keep it simple. Choose Anderson 400 Series windows. They're the cladwood windows contractors trust the most. So much so, they're the windows contractors trust for their own homes. And with fewer callbacks, the choice is simple. It's Anderson 400 Series windows, the windows contractors trust the most. Get started at AndersonWindows.com today.
Claims based on 2022 Anderson brand survey of U.S. contractors.
At Shane Company, we'll help you find the perfect engagement ring. Our jewelry consultants are experts and can teach you everything you need to know about creating a beautiful ring. When you're collaborating, there's no pressure. They don't work on commission, so they'll spend as much time with you as you need. Before you come in, you can play around with our online tool Budget Buddy, so you can see all the possibilities in your price range. When you're here, they'll show you so many gorgeous ring settings and all the options for the center stone. Go traditional with a beautiful diamond or make it really unique with a colorful gemstone. At Chain Company, we have stunning red rubies and over a dozen colors of sapphires, including 3 shades of blue, from light blue to a more traditional darker blue. Or maybe you'd love an aquamarine or peach morganite. Whatever you choose, your ring will be one of a kind, an expression of your love. So come on into Shane Company and let's bring that dream ring to life.
Now you have a friend in the jewelry business. Shane Company and ShaneCo.com.
Hey, everybody, we've all heard stories from friends and family about something really bad that happened. You're in an accident, there's a painful, life-altering injury, huge medical bills, even wrongful death, all from someone else's fault. Some of you are dealing with it right now. So that's where the attorneys at Parr Ritchie Law Firm can help. Tony Patterson, Paul Cruz, and John McLaughlin lead a team with over 70 years of collective courtroom experience and millions of dollars in jury awards and settlements for their clients. Now, none of us can change the past. Just know that Tony, Paul, and John are on your side to help you and your family going forward. They're recognized by Super Lawyers and U.S. News and World Report as being among the leading injury lawyers in Indiana. Even if you're unsure you have a case, give Paul Ritchie a call. They'll listen and give you their free, experienced legal opinion. Call 317-269-2509 or visit parinjury.com. That's P-A-R-R injury.com today.
My name is Kayla Sinders, and I work for Gleaners Food Bank. I am a local service manager for 3 counties in our 21-county service area, and I nominated Katie.
And I'm Jiffy Lube owner Steve Sanner. At Jiffy Lube, we are proud to support Hoosier charities that use their vehicles to do more to make Indiana a better place to live.
My name is Katie Wilkerson. I pick up at the mobile food pantries. The best part of volunteering to hand someone some food and see the smile on their face, the relief. Without my vehicle, there's no way I'd be able to do this. To go to any of the pantries, it's at least 18 miles.
Jiffy Lube of Indiana provides all of our Do More winners with free vehicle maintenance for a year. Because now at Jiffy Lube, our trained technicians do more to keep vehicles like theirs and yours on the road. Brakes, tires, batteries, and more. As well as Indiana's favorite oil change since 1985.
If you know a volunteer who impacts your community, nominate them today to receive a year's worth of free vehicle maintenance. Just click the Do More tab at jiffylubeindiana.com.
Indianapolis. At Geico, our employees' careers matter to us.
Well, finding the right career matters to me.
Look no further, Becca. Geico offers training support because your growth matters. Your hopes and dreams matter. Even the way you sing to your plants because you believe it helps them grow matters.
You said it. Growth matters. Grow, grow, grow your leaves.
When it comes to your career, what matters to you matters to Geico. We're now hiring claims and customer service agents. Apply today at careers.geico.com/Indianapolis and let's get growing.
Baseball is here, and so is the BetRivers.com sportsbook app, featuring same-game parlays where you can combine the excitement of different bets, all from the same game. Bet the total, spreads, player props, and more. Plus, with award-winning customer service, BetRivers.com sportsbook app, here comes a baseball joke, is a home run. Download the BetRivers.com sportsbook app today. It's a whole new game.
Must be 21. Must be located in Indiana. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. 1-800-994-8448.
Right now, it's a seller's market. I'm Patrick Keller with Crest Point Real Estate. Get your free home value estimate from me in 60 seconds at sellwithpatrick.com.
Last year, the Westfield Shamrocks made it to Lucas Oil Stadium for the 6A championship, while New Pal lost in the 5A regional championship. The Shamrocks take a long drive to the east side to take on the New Pal Dragons. It's a clash under Friday night lights, presented by CarX. Don't worry, call the CarX team. Eddie Garrison has the kickoff Friday night at 7. Friday Night Football on 93.5 and 107.5. The Ride with JMV.
Look at all those ding-dongs.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, shout out to Phil Steele, who was spectacular just now. If you missed any of it, the podcast, 1075thefan.com. Absolutely outstanding right there. I mean, really everything. Everything college football we just hit with from college football preview, Phil Steele. Stephen Holder in the 5 o'clock hour, ESPN.com. Colts. Mike Strawn was kind of a focus today, I guess. We'll hit on that. The wide receiver being back from the PUP and doing a lot of things up in Westfield today. Stephen Holder joins us at 5. Remember, UB40's Red Red Wine for Wham Fest tickets. When you hear that song, number 9 is going to be a winner. Wham Fest is the celebration of wine, of food, of microbrews, of entertainment. It's a great party in Greenwood coming up on Saturday. It's on Saturday in Craig Park. And I've got tickets for you for Wham Fest when you hear Red Red Wine from UB40. Number 9 is going to be a winner. I saw this a little bit earlier, too. It is the lineup of broadcasters for the 2022 NFL season. Doesn't really matter much to me, but I know that it does matter to many out there. Amazon's Al Michaels, Kirk Herbstreit, and Kylie Hartung. It's Thursday night on Amazon. CBS, Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson, Ian Eagle, Charles Davis, Evan Washburn. By the way, I am a tremendous Ian Eagle fan. I'm not alone here, correct? Iron Eagle, to me, is among the most state-of-the-art. Kevin Harlan, Trent Green, Melanie Collins, Greg Gumbel, Adam Archuleta, A.J. Ross, Andrew Catalan, James Lofton, Spiro Ditas, Jay Feely, Tom McCarthy, Tiki Barber. Additional play-by-play would be Beth Mowens. Michael Grady's actually on the list for CBS with the additional reporters, if you're interested. Fox, Kevin Burkhardt, Greg Olson, Aaron Andrews, Tom Rinaldi, Joe Davis, Daryl Johnston, Pam Oliver, Adam Amin, Mark Schlereth, Christina Pink. This is all part of Fox. Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma, Shannon Spake, Kevin Kugler, Mark Sanchez, Laura Okerman, Chris Myers, Robert Smith, Jen Hale, NBC's Tarico Collinsworth and Stark, and ESPN, Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, Lisa Salters. Now, Steve Levy, Dan Orlovsky, Lewis Riddick, Laura Rutledge. My goodness, how many more are you going to have for that Monday Night Football doubleheader in the ESPN Plus game? It's at like 90. It reminds me of that old bit from The Naked Gun. Remember when they were at the game? The Angels-Mariners game, and they introduced all those broadcasting from the booth, and they ended it with Dr. Joyce Brothers. Great. Kirk Gowdy was the stuff. Kirk Gowdy with Jim Palmer, Mel Allen. That was solid. Hey, JMV, you should be Phil Steele's agent. Why do I need to be Phil Steele's agent? And explain that to me. I just want to bring good content to you. Why do I need to be Phil Steele's agent? Because I like him, but because you like him? That doesn't make any sense whatsoever, Rex. I'm not an agent. I can't even add. I couldn't be an agent. So why do I need to be his agent, Rex? Rex? Hey, JMV, this traffic on 144 and 69 sucks. If you come across any Luke Bryan tickets this Saturday, let me know. It does, and I don't. Hey, here is something for you from our good friend Damon Dobbs. JMV, I have 4 tickets for the Indianapolis Indians tomorrow, matinee game, 1:30, fifth row behind home plate. Can you see if anyone is interested? I'll text the tickets. Thanks. I'm going to tweet that out, and you guys can get a hold of Damon and go to work. JMV, so I saw the Wrigley show. Was there to see Motley Crue, Def Leppard, and Poison. Joan Jett sounded great. Very much enjoyed the show. I don't know if a lot of you are going to get in time to see Joan Jett, apparently. Mark writes this: traffic downtown's horrible. 90 minutes from Fishers and still not to Lucas Oil Stadium yet. I think the closer you get, the probably more congested it's going to be, too, brother. Mike Wendell. JMV at 1070, thefan.com. Rex. Come on, Rex. Why would I want to be his agent, Rex? Don't understand it, Rex. Can you guys figure that out inside the lounge via YouTube Live for Rex? Why would you want an agent that can't add? I can't do math. Would you guys want me an agent if I can't do math very well? But I do have a calculator, and it's Texas Instruments.
I don't think you'd be good at negotiating. You'd be like, all right, this is our deal. No, all right, I'm walking.
Well, this sucks. Well, if it's a meeting that goes longer than 5 minutes, this whole thing sucks. I've done that before, too. Like, during meetings, I go, you know what? This whole thing sucks. I don't want to be a part of this. I mean, we're talking, this should take 5 minutes, and it's taking 7. Austin's at 239-1070. Hello, Austin. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Austin, I'm fan-stinking-tastic. Go ahead.
I wanted to talk about realistic expectations for the Colts this year. I mean, I know local media has us winning 11, 12 games. I think that is fair. I think we're going to do really well in the division, even though I think Jacksonville got a lot better. I think their defensive ends and our offensive tackle is going to be scary week 2. But more specifically, Matt Ryan, because in my mind, he's still a question mark. I know he's an upgrade in my mind from Carson Wentz, but I don't see anybody outside like local media, Colts fans, nationally really thinking that Matt Ryan is really giving us much of a boost towards a playoff run or AFC championship game. Am I missing something?
I will say this. I think the national media is more trumpeting what they expect from Matt Ryan than honestly anybody. The only reason you hear it so much around here is because every lasting problem from a year ago was placed on the exiting shoulders of Carson Wentz. And, now it's almost like around here you wipe the slate clean with a 37-year-old quarterback. I do agree with you. While everybody suggests that it's going to be better until you see it, and that's the lasting effect from what you saw at the end of the year, because it was so stinking bad, especially in that final game. Until you see some consistently good, you're going to be apprehensive to say, all right, well, this is going to be, like some have suggested, a 12-win team or a 13-win team. I pegged them at 10 until further notice because I look at their schedule, and that's the real feel that I get. Because that schedule is difficult. I really do feel 10. But no, seriously, until you see that Matt Ryan is much different because of the running game of Jonathan Taylor, because of the different team than he was a year ago, then it's going to have to be believed first. And I don't fault at all the Colts fans for wanting to see it first.
Yeah, I think I wasn't sure. We're just so excited to get away from Carson Wentz that we're just like proclaiming Matt Ryan the savior.
Right.
But I think we're going to dominate the division, maybe lose one game, maybe 2 games, but obviously that means we don't do that well in the rest of our schedule.
Yeah, you got to win. I think you can lose to me within the division 1. I'll give you one maybe in Nashville, but you've got to be nearly perfect within the division. Agreed. What else you got, Austin?
Right. Nothing. I was just going to talk about Jacksonville. I think they got a lot better. Their defensive ends are tough. Maybe I'm underestimating Mike Vrabel being able to win with whoever he has on the field, but I really think that other than maybe Jacksonville, I think we're going to dominate the division.
Austin, thank you very much for the call. Jacksonville's always going to be tough on the Colts for whatever reason. It's just really weird. Actually, it's not really weird. It's familiar. You've got to be nearly perfect. Dwayne writes this, great interview with the one and only Phil Steele. Now, this is not me, Rex, trying to be his agent here. I'm just reading what Dwayne has to say about it. Everyone around here listening should walk away with a very realistic expectation for their respective teams. That's exactly what I want to provide. Just working knowledge right there, everybody. Nah, he was really good. Nick Kernoodle. Did I read that accurately? I like Nick a great deal. That's a great name if that's true. Kernoodle? What's the definition of Kernoodle? If I pronounce that accurately, Nick, that is one of the greater names that I've come across. Luke Bryan sucks, according to Nick Kernoodle. Listen, you got to keep this in mind, fellas. And Nick, you might be out of this equation. Because I see here that you have a little fellow with you. Maybe you're married, encumbered. If you go to one of those shows, no matter what you dislike about the music, you will be a part of probably some of the greatest smokes showage that Central Indiana will see over the course of a year. I don't have a working knowledge of that because I'm well past it, and I'm sure as hell not going to go see Luke Bryan either. But I'm just telling you, the same thing with Nickelback. You go up out there, we all make fun of, hey, Nickelback, because I used to do that all the time too. But if you go out there, and if you're single, and you got something to offer out there can be some hooking up heeing and sheeing to be had right there. It's more, I think, for the younger generation, for those particular shows than just the music. So if you're single, the music can suck, but your night may not. Nick, before the break at 239-1070. Hello, Nick.
Hey, John. How you doing?
Nick, I could not be better. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, I got to concur with you on a couple things. Number one, with the Colts, first, we'll believe it when we see it, and we haven't seen Jack Dander when it comes to the results. You've gone on about that. And furthermore, I don't think this division is a shoo-in for a title. We're not going to be hanging up a participation trophy banner anytime soon. But you're talking expectations. I want to ask you this, and I know this may sound premature. That's fine. Hearing about how the offense isn't kind of clicking the way we want, the wide receivers were nothing spectacular, the tight ends were beautiful, and I know it's one preseason game, but history is against us in weeks 1 and 2. And Doug Peterson coming to this division was the worst thing that could have happened to Frank Reich.
I do agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. There's definitely no Urban Meyer blank show here going on.
Oh, yeah. And I want to ask you a question. Because I'm not optimistic about week 1. I am not optimistic about week 2. If we can run the table and get 2-0, I'll shut my mouth. But if we go 0-2 in the first 2 weeks, and I think there's a high likelihood we can, what does the future hold for this Ballard-Reich regime?
Let me tell you this. If you're not high on weeks 1 and weeks 2, then you're not high on the season. Because they have to cash both of those weeks in. So if you don't have a feel for those first 2, then you're thinking this team overall is going to be screwed, because that's going to have a drastic effect on the rest of their season either way, win or lose, which you have to win both of those. But here's what I've said. I have said this. To me, right now, there's no hot seat. There's no hot seat whatsoever. But Reich is the one that goes on it. Reich is the one that his team can play his way onto it. I don't think, and this is not because I'm some lover of Chris Ballard or anything like that. I just give you the info that's necessary and an honest opinion. Chris Ballard's going nowhere. He is going nowhere regardless, but this team can, in a negative way, play Frank Reich onto an incredibly hot seat this season. Now, starting out the season like that would be detrimental. There's no question.
Yeah, well, if there's the lack of urgency, and if Jimmy's fine with that, more power to him.
Well, I don't think we don't. I think that they have shown that they have urgency with the way they're trying to change things up. That whole dynamic and preparation for the season. Going with the 37-year-old quarterback, showing you that sense of urgency to win right now. It's just, you're giving me a scenario that hasn't happened yet. Like, you'll have to ask me if they go 0-2, and then, if everything's falling around us, that could be different altogether, and probably will be. If you're asking me right now, they are showing urgency with how they're handling training camp with this group, and who they're putting stock in at quarterback as a 37-year-old. They're putting a lot of urgency on the season with that.
Fair enough. All I can say, though, is what I wouldn't give to have it be 1991 with this model of a team, because we'd be a dynasty. Because all I know is we have a GM that puts no stock on drafting a quarterback and puts no stock in bringing a reputable receiver in here. We do not have a first-round receiver in here. So we'll see what the year holds.
Now, 1991 for the Colts, those were not good days.
No, but if we had this team back then, we'd run the table on both the Iron Curtain and Jerry's World.
No,
I mean, like I said,
so,
6 years
I know
removed
what you mean.
stuff.
You're talking about a running and playing defensive type of game is what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not against it. I'm just saying, if you want to win in the Pat Mahomes age, then guess what? You're kidding yourself. Yeah. With this model, you're kidding yourself.
I will. Anyway, I do, and thank you for the call, Nick. I do agree with the questionable model in which you have built here. But no, the sense of urgency, I think, is there, right? You guys agree with me on this? It seems like that they know they have to get out and get to a great start. They know that they need to win right now. They know that their owner wants them to host a home playoff game. They know they have to win the division. So I think, to me, those are like four segments of a sense of urgency, at least to me. Quick break, we'll come back. More of your calls. Stephen Holder, ESPN.com, top of the hour, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Before they break the streak of 8 consecutive opening day losses, the Colts need to practice.
But we talking about practice, man. What are we talking about? Practice?
Yeah, practice.
Recap practice. Follow the Colts' progress through camp with daily in-depth updates from Kevin Bowen.
It's been pretty uneventful.
At 1075thefan.com.
Making sure we have enough depth.
Your home for complete Colts coverage.
Who are we as a team?
Is 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Fellas, you're going bald, and you don't want to be bald anymore, okay? There's nothing wrong with being bald. If you want to be bald, you're going bald, and it's cool with you, then do it. But if you want to do something about it, I'm just here to provide you options. Options of real growing hair, again, with PAI. That's 888-724-5129. I'm here to tell you, you don't have to be bald. You can do something about it. 888-724-5129. That private consultation today. All the answers in real hair growth for you with Darren Andrews online. WeGrowHairAndy.com.
We want to have a party at your house with your friends this summer. Go to 1075thefan.com/contest to enter to win a Connecticut Backyard Bourbon broadcast in your backyard with JMV.
Hi, I'm Ryan Kelly with thehomeloanexpert.com. Credit card debt in the U.S. has hit an all-time high of $930 billion. And while most folks are struggling to get through the month wondering which bills to pay, the greedy credit card companies are making record profits. Your home is probably worth more than ever before, and that equity is just sitting there. There's never been a better time to look at a cash-out refinance. Apply online today at thehomeloanexpert.com. The Home Loan Expert LLC, NMLS number 1326241.
Hey, go out there right now and sign up for the best waste disposal and recycling anywhere with Ray's Trash Service. That's raystrash.com. Sign up for that today. Plus, if you're thinking about maybe a new career, how about joining a company that's been family operated since the 1960s? Great pay, great benefits, all in one place as a driver. If you have a commercial driver's license, or if you're a non-driver and you just want a career change of pace, log on right now and apply today. So apply for a new career and a new gig with a great place and a great company at raystrash.com. With the best in recycling, the best in waste disposal anywhere. Central Indiana. That's raystrash.com today.
Sip and save at Circle K with our great new drink subscription. Join Sip and Save today and enjoy one drink a day every day for just $5.99 a month. Enjoy your favorite Circle K ice cold fountain drink, Froster, or freshly ground coffee every day. That's 30 drinks a month for only $5.99. So sip and save at Circle K. Sign up in store or at CircleK.com. Circle K. Take it easy.
Hey, it's JMV for the 14th Central Indiana Joe Childers Run, Car X locations, helping your car, truck, or van maintain that road readiness, especially during these times. And here's why. We're talking back to school for everybody. Check out their free back to school inspection going on right now at your 14 local Central Indiana Car X locations. This inspection includes tires, brakes, the battery, oil and fluids, AC, wiper blades, so much more. So here's what I want you to do. Make an appointment. Contact your CarX manager at one of the 14 locations here in Central Indiana. Make sure you ask for the free back-to-school inspection appointment. Do that today. 14 Central Indiana locations of CarX. My friend Joe Childers does it up. It is fantastic. And to find a location nearest you for back-to-school inspections, it's CarX.com today.
Turn to the experts at Howald Heating and Carrier for all your plumbing needs. Howald Heating, Air, and Plumbing, where you can trust your flush to us.
Big Red Liquors Big Gas Giveaway. This month, Big Red Liquors is giving away 4 $500 gas cards. Yes, you could win a $500 gas card. Stop in at any Big Red Liquors to enter. It's free. Must be 21 to enter. No purchase necessary.
The 9th Annual Indy Labor Fest is September 3rd on Monument Circle, an admission-free street festival with a chance to learn about career opportunities. Hosted by the labor unions of Central Indiana.
The preseason continues as the Colts host the Detroit Lions. Coverage Saturday morning at 10 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Let me have a Diablo sandwich, a Dr. Pepper, make it fast. I'm in a damn hurry.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Rock, never stop. I can't believe these guys aren't going to play this tonight. How do you not play this banger? Come on, Joe. We're just talking to Eric Allen next door at B105.7, Kyle, and he said he saw drummer Rick Allen out in front of the Conrad yesterday of Def Leppard. Rick Allen is, if you remember, back in the 80s in a bus accident, lost his arm. The one-armed drummer of Def Leppard. And actually, it's interesting, they played here before it's been a Ruoff, and people have seen him out here downtown prior. JMV, why is nobody talking about Wentz's Week 1 QBR of 89.9 versus Ryan's 76.3? Did the Colts make the right move? No, I mentioned that very thing. I see you now. Hashtag how to trigger JMV. With Matt Ryan, many believe the pieces are there. And he can better at quarterback help put them together. But he has a great deal to prove, too, because a year ago wasn't fantastic for him. Now, this entire team has something to prove because that final game is the lasting memory that everybody around here has, and that wasn't good. It's one of the worst games of all time. Tony Donahue writes this: Lucas Oil Stadium smells heavy of Drakkar right now. At least it's not BO. I'm assuming it's a mixture of Drakkar and pot smoke. Now, do you think it'll still smell like marijuana by the time the game rolls around on Saturday, 1 o'clock? Will the marijuana smell still be wafting about?
You'll know if you're looking on Saturday morning and the window or the roof is open.
Yeah,
got to air that place out.
Steve writes this: you need to put that cucumber in your pocket and go chat up Tommy Lee. I can't drive the boat with the cucumber here in studio, I don't think, Steve. Tommy Lee had a very special talent. Hey, hold on a minute. How you driving that boat? Quick break and we'll come back. Yeah, I know, it's a joke. Rake Straw, Phil Steele, podcast 1075thefan.com. Inside the lounge via YouTube Live. Thanks for watching, listening, and participating. And from ESPN.com, the latest on the Colts from camp. Stephen Holder's next.
Put on your helmet. It's about to get real.
Chris Ballard, what do you like about Matt Ryan?
His preparation, urgency of helping hold people accountable are at a really, really high level.
There's different ways of holding people accountable. What does that mean for him?
I've seen the teacher and the coach in him come out to where, hey, that route's supposed to be at 10, you ran it at 9, get to 10. So there's an accountability demanding of him in the right way.
Dan Dockage, weekdays noon to 3 on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, honestly, I slept like crap. I did because I snored. It was like a chainsaw every single night, and I could not find a solution until a couple of former IU basketballers scored big with me. They did. Steve Green, Brian Evans. They introduced me to the Aurora Sleep Clinic, aurorasleep.com, 317-482-7900. B. Evans said this: hey, I've got this mouthpiece we can make for you, too. You wear it at night. It's simple, it's affordable, and it's going to eliminate your snoring. You know what it has? It works. I was looking for anything that worked, and aurorasleep.com worked for me. So if you struggle with snoring, if you know somebody that does, let's do something about that ASAFP. Can we? 317-482-7900. Tell them I sent you. Aurora Sleep Clinic today. Online, aurorasleep.com.
Alice in Chains and Breaking Benjamin. Live in concert this summer with Bush plus special guests. Tomorrow night at Ruoff Music Center. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Get up and get outside this summer with Alice in Chains and Breaking Benjamin.
Hey, I got mine checked up earlier this summer. I'm suggesting that you might need it right now, too, because, frankly, our cooling systems have taken a hammer job with the weather. Hot and humid all summer long. We've had that stuff cranked down like a meat locker in our homes. Let's make sure the efficiency is doing what it should right now. That doesn't cost you money, and you're remaining cool and comfortable in your home. Call John and Chris Love Heating and Air, 317-353-2141. You are getting the best in the business here locally at 317-353-2141 to give that cooling system, that unit, the once-over. And remember, too, we're going to get ready here relatively soon to make that transition from the summer to the fall. Keep that in mind when you call. 317-353-2141, love-hvac.com today.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
WIBC HD2, W298BB, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis.
Hey, join me tomorrow live from Colts camp. It is the Detroit Lions and the Indianapolis Colts getting it on. AC's going to stop by. Mo Ellie Cox going to stop by. Join me tomorrow, noon to 3.
The Ride with JMV.
Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
JMV at 1070, thefan.com is the email address. JMV, I heard you mention regarding Tommy Lee being able to have the talent of driving a boat without using his hands. How was he driving the boat? You'll have to do that research on your own right there, sir. I can provide you as much research as possible, but there are some certain aspects that you're just going to have to learn. You will have to be taught and do it on your own right there. If that makes sense to you. Skivvies writes this, tomorrow's show, Alice in Chains. Is Bush out there tomorrow, too? Bush, Alice? I thought it was Breaking Benjamin tomorrow. It was Alice in Chains and Breaking Benjamin. I don't think it's Bush, is it? Everything's in. I don't think Gavin Rossdale's out there coming up tomorrow. I know Cantrell is. I thought we were going to talk to Cantrell, but it did not end up happening. If there is, Jay Cantrell is great from Alice in Chains, and here's why. He can provide great, and I mean incredible rock talk. But the guy is a big-time NFL fan and a big-time fantasy football playing guy. Big, great NFL conversation. T. Shaw writes this, hopefully Vince doesn't eat any steak and shake before the concert tonight. Guarantee he's eating something. It might be Golden Corral. Hey, just as long as he's out there running around, that's all good, all right? Again, if you want studio quality, you can do that at home. Yeah, I don't need all these Tommy Lee questions. Thank you very much. I mean, I think the legend is standalone here. Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline from ESPN.com. Been staked out all day up in Westfield for camp and set for the Lions to come to town for the dual practices during training camp and then a game. Coming up, preseason game 2 on Saturday against Stephen Holder joins us right now. So Stephen, San Antonio, Texas, wants me to ask you this. Are you ready?
I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm ready, but go for it.
It is not how Tommy Lee can drive a boat without using his hands.
Okay, all right, good.
It is this. Do you think Emmanuel Sanders might be an option as a veteran wide receiver at some point for the Colts?
He is someone that I hadn't considered. It's not terrible, though. He's been productive in recent years and has been kind of a key pickup a couple of times in recent years. So I think if you're looking, let's put it this way. If you're looking, and I'm not saying they're looking, but if you're looking, I think he's a guy you look at for sure. And, I think he gives you kind of what T.Y. Hilton would give you, but maybe a little more. It kind of depends on how much he's lost physically, and I don't know that answer. You'd have to work him out. You'd have to see where he's at. I don't know what it would cost, but I don't think that's necessarily the biggest roadblock either. So
yeah, he's the one that I was kind of thinking about a little bit. And I'm glad that if Chris Ballard hears about it, he'll say it's not true. So that's good. We're only having a little conversation via speculation. I think at some point they are going to add a veteran wide receiver at some point, but we'll see who that is and when that certainly takes place. Stephen Holder joins us. So Mike Strawn was out there today. What does he need to prove to be a part of this roster? And do you believe after last year, after fighting through injuries coming off a PUP, does he have that type of proof within him to be on this roster at the start of the season?
Well, what I would say to start is that I didn't have any expectations of him coming right out of the gate. I mean, they took him off the PUP list, I believe, yesterday. Today was the first practice since then. And right out of the gate, he's catching balls in full team workouts, 11 on 11, catching balls over the middle. And he made a couple of plays today. And I got to be honest, of that pack of wide receivers beyond what we think is the top 4 right now, and the top 4 I'm defining as Michael Pittman, Campbell, Pierce, and I guess Doolin. Beyond that 4, the other remaining guys, I think it's just kind of been kind of blah, right? I think one guy makes a play here, one guy makes a play there. It's not been any kind of consistency, and I'm including like Desmond Patman in that group. I think he needs to turn it on and show something more consistently. And so here comes Michael Strachan on day one and is like, all right, I'm here. I'm ready to roll. And look, this guy, I didn't even know if he's in shape. You know what I mean? He hasn't practiced, and he's coming out there making plays on the first day with the second offense. All right, it's not like he was with the first team defense out there, but I don't care. I think just being active and being involved right out of the gate for me, it got my attention. And look, he has some juice that some of those other guys may or may not have. He's got size, he's got legitimate track speed. He has a lot to like. But he's got to put it all together. He's got to show development in his route running and his understanding of the game. He's still really, really raw, Division II player. But he has the tools. He has the tools, and I think that's what's going to carry him if he does make it. He has a legitimate shot.
Let the records reflect Stephen Holder does not want to know how Tommy Lee drives a boat without his hands. He's with us via the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I did want to ask you this, because this is brought up to me a couple of different times. And, I go to these guys can't get separation in a preseason game. And it's not like I was floored by that. That's something I think most of us expected. Other than Michael Pittman Jr., you would expect that from this particular group. But some have pointed out via video and others just by watching the game on Saturday that Matt Ryan did a lot of check downing during his time out there. Did you see that? And was that part of what we didn't see or what we don't talk about in terms of the wide receivers and no separation Saturday?
Yeah, it's definitely true. It's definitely true. And it's important to point out because it's intentional. I think it was very clear to me, and Frank Reich didn't necessarily confirm this to me, but I don't think he needs to. I think you can see it. It's very clear that Frank Reich and Matt Ryan had a long conversation about, hey, listen, I'm putting you out there, but don't do anything reckless. Okay? He went full Peyton Manning and just took a knee, okay, when that defensive end came off the edge. It was basically like, I'm not getting hit.
Yeah.
Now, Matt Ryan is not necessarily, Lamar Jackson out there running around and running a 4.40 or anything, but he's also not a guy who's afraid to mix it up and take a hit, right? And he was not interested at all in taking that hit. Why? Because I think the coach told him, dude, don't get hit. So I think that tells you what sort of approach they had to that game. There were definitely instances where they could have been aggressive. They chose not to be aggressive. There were also situations, I was talking to Coach Venturi about this. It's a great point. He talked about, for example, some of those routes where the receivers didn't win. Take the first third down play to Alec Pierce. He runs, I think it was just either a square in or a slant. I can't remember. But on that play, Venturi points out, it's a really good point. He says, on that play, if you're game planning for that defense, that would be an option route because the corner on 3rd and 2, for example, this is just one very, very small example, but that corner knows it's a third down. He knows it's probably going to be a stick throw, meaning you're shooting for the first down marker, right? And so when they know that, you've got to give them something to play off of. You've got to give them something to fool them. And so that might be an option route. Depending on how the defensive back plays you, you do the opposite. If he plays you inside, you go outside, and vice versa. There, they didn't give them any options. They're just running routes. And so those are the things that when you get to a higher level of game planning during the regular season, you give your players some advantages that they didn't have in this game because they didn't give a damn, because it was a preseason game. So hopefully that gives people a little context on what they're watching, which is not much.
Stephen Holder from ESPN.com is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So we'll play off of what you said there with this. And let's face it, we would have been talking more negatively about that first team defense that was out there had Buffalo scored, right? Because they got off some yardage in chunks. How was defensively at the start of that game with their ones in there? Were they trying to play it Saturday?
Yeah, it was a little bit uneven, I thought. I think with this defense, look, Matt Eberflus, the former defense coordinator, his priorities were, don't give up the big play. And, we can talk about whether they were always successful in doing that, but that's not the point. They played a style that really tried to prevent big plays. This defense is a little more aggressive. It's going to be a little more press coverage. I think some people will like that. Others may have second thoughts, whatever. But the point is, I think you're going to see more big plays with this defense. But let me rephrase that. You're going to see them allow more big plays. But I also think they're going to make more splash plays. And I'm not talking about turnovers. I think both last year's defense, the previous scheme, and I think both in this scheme, they'll make turnovers in both. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about getting to the quarterback. I'm talking about getting their hands in passing lanes and making tight window throws. We haven't seen quite enough of those. So I think it will be a little bit boom or bust sometimes. You're going to have maybe a big play for the offense, but then the defense may come back with a big play. And I think in the old scheme, the scheme that we've seen the last 4 years, I think the emphasis was on just making them go the hard way, make them go 3 or 4 yards at a time. The problem is some offenses are built to do that, and they will go 3 or 4 yards at a time, and they'll score. So, we'll see. I mean, they're going to throw in some blitzes too that you did not see. I've seen some blitzes from Gus Bradley in training camp that maybe I didn't anticipate. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see if we see a lot of those. He's not a big blitzer, but I'd love to see some in the regular season. We'll see how that goes.
It's Stephen Holden with us. I know Isaiah Rodgers was in concussion protocol. Prior to that situation, he was flashing in some moments in that game. Where is he right now as far as being favorable to overcoming anybody in that lineup in the back end of that defense? Is he on the verge of doing so, or is this just one moment in a preseason game?
No, I think he consistently makes plays. I like Isaiah Rodgers a little bit more than his competition for that third spot, which is Brandon Fison. And I'll tell you why. I think that with Rodgers, you have, while he's maybe a little more boomer bust, and I know I've used that term here already, but he might be a little more boomer bust. He may give up a play, but he will go get the football too, okay? And I love that. I think that the plays that he may give up, he's going to give you back some plays too. And those can be big. I mean, with his athletic ability, if he takes it away, this kid could go to the house. And I think he's going to go for the football. He has incredible ball skills. There's a reason he's out there returning kickoffs. He just has a knack for the football, and with the football in his hands and for tracking the football in general. I believe he played wide receiver in high school. You can kind of see that. And he's the guy, I think, on this defense who has the greatest ability to do that, to go track that football. I think he's the best at it in the secondary, him and Julian Blackman. So if he's not out there, he can't give you that. And now they definitely like the size with Fison, and he gives them, I think, a more traditional corner that they're looking for in this sort of cover three based scheme. But Isaiah Rodgers is a guy who I think I'd be willing to go away from my tendencies for. I'd forget about my parameters when I have a guy who has off the chart speed and an ability to get the football. That goes a long way for me. But I don't know. I'm not predicting that he wins that job, because I don't know. Training camp hasn't suggested that he's winning it, and I think I'm a little. I don't know. I guess I disagree with that a little bit.
Is the familiarity with Gus Bradley maybe what is playing the most significant role, at least at this point?
I think it has a big factor here for sure. It's a different scheme, right? So Fison knows the scheme, and he's a really solid veteran, a really smart guy. They really like him because they know what they're going to get from him. So now he's got his defensive backs coach as well. So they've got the Raiders defensive back coach, a guy who's been in the scheme at least, with Gus Bradley and Ron Miles as well. So that's part of this too. They definitely have a comfort level in the scheme, with Brandon playing out there. But as I said, Isaiah Rodgers, at some point, I just think if he keeps making plays, at some point, you got to ask yourself, all right, are we leaving something on the table here? But I don't think it's like reckless or anything like that. I understand why he's still trailing in that battle. All I'm saying is I think it should be maybe a little closer than it is. We'll see what happens, though.
It's Stephen Holder of ESPN.com is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. The Lions in town for a couple of practices coming up in Westfield, and then that preseason game, too, coming up on Saturday. In terms of kickers, I'm assuming for the Colts, Verdi is disappointing coming off of Saturday, but Blankenship is still somebody that they like, but you're constantly looking around. It's like what a lot of dudes would do. You love your girlfriend, but you're looking around for somebody probably a little bit hotter. Is that a good way to explain it?
Okay, well, I got to answer this without getting in trouble, don't I?
Yeah, yeah. I set you up for failure. My bad.
Thanks a lot, buddy. Listen, I think you're right, though, because, maybe that dude's a little reluctant to pop the question because he's not all in, right? To continue the metaphor.
Sure.
So I think that's what the Colts are. I don't see them popping the question here. This has been a long courtship, and maybe we're taking this metaphor too far here. But the point is, I agree with you. I don't see a true commitment, and I'm not saying they're wrong. In fact, what I would say is, okay, if you're not committed, well, then maybe you should look harder for another option here because you don't seem to be all in with the kicker you have. And I'm not even saying they're wrong about it. My big problem, I'm sorry, my big problem, and I'll go back to it, I'll say it again, my big problem is leg strength. All right? Frank Reich, he won't say this, but I'm sorry. In a moment of honesty, there's no way he could look you in the eye and tell you that the leg strength of his kicker has not played a role in some of his fourth down decisions. I refuse to believe that. It has to have played a role, And I think if that's the case, in today's league, where guys are kicking 58-yarders like it's nothing, you're at a disadvantage if you can't do that. So I don't know if Barry is the guy, and doesn't look like he is. So I don't know, but maybe you got to find the guy. I don't know. I know they felt like they were taking a swing when they got Blankenship. I believe they paid him a premium to come here as an undrafted guy. So they made an effort. I'm not saying they didn't try, but at the same time, I don't know. It doesn't seem to me like they're all in.
I feel the same way about that, too. Were you surprised when they had those couple of fourth down opportunities? Certainly one was from long distance that they didn't trot Blankenship out there just to see, because to me, it would have made more sense doing that than going for it on fourth down with your ones versus their twos.
Yeah, I was a little surprised, but I understand what they were doing, and it wasn't even about strategy or anything like that. They were trying to get more reps for their first offense. So I get that part of it, but you're also trying to make a decision, right, on this kicker situation, and that was an opportunity to do it. They chose to bypass that opportunity. So I don't hate the decision, but I did kind of do a little bit of a double take, put it that way.
We rarely talk about it. We're always complaining about wide receivers and complaining about left tackles and all of this. But would you consider the Colts situation right now at kicker problematic?
I think it has the potential to be a problem. And it boils down to this. If you're going to be a team that's in the mix, okay, you want to go on the road and beat Denver and play the schedule that you've got this year and some really meaningful games, your kicker is going to play a role at some point. I mean, I'm sorry. Are you going to go blow Kansas City out? I'm sorry. Who's expecting that, right? So you expect to be in tight games. Your kicker has to play a role. I mean, I said this maybe to the morning guys. I don't remember if it was them or you, but I said this recently. If you go back to the Cincinnati Bengals, I think are a great example last year. There's no way they're in the Super Bowl without their kicker. There's no way. Okay, you bailed them out in all of their biggest games, okay? If I'm not mistaken, they beat Green Bay on a kick, right? They beat Tennessee on a kick in the playoffs. And so, continuously their kicker played a role in their biggest wins. I mean, what's the signature kick for the Colts kicker right now? I mean, granted, he hasn't had that many opportunities, but those opportunities, they come pretty often, when you're a team that's in tight games and you're playing meaningful games.
Yeah, it's Stephen Holder of ESPN.com's with us via the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So just a lot of backupage coming up on Saturday, I guess, too. Before that, though, what do you expect in the next couple of days in Westfield from the Lions and the Colts practice-wise?
They're going to go hard. They are. Listen, today, they got done with practice, and I was stunned. I looked at my watch, and I said, man, they've only been out here for 70 minutes. They went an hour and 10 minutes, and they said, all right, we're done. And you know why? Because they're saving it for the next 2 days. So they're going to go hard. They're going to compete. Michael Pittman will probably get in a fight because that's what he does. And I expect it to be very, very competitive. So Frank Reich and Dan Campbell, the Lions head coach, have already talked. They've had a conversation already about their plan for Saturday, and they both agreed, forget Saturday. Let's go at it in practice, and let's get the most out of these 2 days. So I think they're both going to rest their starters and just, leave it all on the field on Wednesday and Thursday. So I'm looking forward to a really competitive and animated couple of days. I think we'll learn a lot, maybe as much or more than we learned in Buffalo.
It's funny, going back to Buffalo, before I let you go here, Stephen, I looked at the offensive line and 3 penalties and, that sack you talked about where Ryan just kind of went down because he did not want to get hit. For a group like that, I know it's a preseason game, and I didn't make a huge stink of it, but you expect among all positions on this team, that one, even with still a great deal of wonder at left tackle, to be much better with that group than really what we saw out there during their short stint.
I'd like to see a little more consistency for sure. No question about it. Because, look, they're in a much better situation right now than they were a year ago. If you recall, this time last year, Quentin Nelson was sitting on the sideline. I think Ryan Kelly missed most of camp, if I recall. We had an elbow injury. Braden Smith was banged up. I think Eric Fisher still was on the PUP list, if I recall, at this point last year, too. So, you're talking about 4 projected starters who were either hurt or just completely out of the lineup at this time last year. So they're in a much better situation right now and haven't missed any practice time. So I expect the execution to be at a high level. And I think that needs to happen. I don't worry about it because I've seen them play at a high level. So I think it's worth giving them the benefit of the doubt. Obviously, the exception there being left tackle. But outside of that, those other guys have done it. I've seen it many, many, many times, right? So I give them the benefit of the doubt. But at the same time, put it on tape. Put it on tape and let's see it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Somebody had actually brought up the lack of what was described by this caller as a sense of urgency, and I completely disagreed. Yeah. I think that we see, starting with the 37-year-old quarterback after getting rid of Wentz and, now going to with what they're trying to do to try to change up the start of a season because it's been so bad at the beginning, putting a premium certainly on those first couple of games within the division. I think this team right now is really going about it with a sense of urgency, just beyond those couple of examples. Do you agree?
I really do. And I think Matt Ryan's a big part of that. We haven't talked a lot about this, but, I was talking to my editor recently, and he said, in the first paragraph of Matt Ryan's obituary, he's not going anywhere anytime soon. I know he's old, but he's not that old. But this is a little bit of a morbid conversation, right? But, whenever that happens, right now, the first paragraph's going to include a reference to 28-3, right? And why am I bringing that up? I'm talking about the Falcons, just basically coughing up a Super Bowl title to the Patriots in that obviously infamous game. And why do I bring that up? Because you don't think that guy's motivated? Okay. All right. He wants to go change that conversation. There's no question about it. As great a player as he has been, one of the first things people think about Matt Ryan is, oh, yeah, the guy whose team lost a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl. No one wants to be known for that. So this is his first chance to really, maybe since 2017, I think the Falcons were pretty competitive that year. But really since then, this is his first chance to really change that conversation. You know what I mean? So this guy's motivated more than anybody, just about as much as anybody. And the other guys are too, but he's got a lot on the line. And I think people got to remember that when they talk about Matt Ryan and what this is about for him. It's more than just, I want to keep playing and the Colts traded for me. he's trying to change his reputation and change history, really.
I realize it was against 3s and 4s more than likely here, but what's your sense of what they would end up doing with Sam Ehlinger moving forward here, considering they're not going to do anything with Foles? I mean, he's going to be your veteran backup, right? You know about Matt Ryan. What would they do with number 3 in this case, you think?
Yeah, my inclination is to say that he goes to the practice squad, but I guess you would have to feel comfortable that no one would take him. I don't think they would. Generally, he's still a young quarterback who doesn't have a lot of film, and generally, if you want to bring a quarterback in during the season, it's someone who's going to be your number 2. I don't know if anyone sees him as their number 2 right now, having missed the offseason, right? So I don't think it's likely that a team would sign him off the practice squad, but I really think that's what they'd have to do. I mean, at this point, you might be carrying Darius Leonard on your 53-man roster without him being available, unless he comes back here in the next couple of weeks. And then, beyond that, you're always going to have an injury or two going into the season. So that's another handful of guys who are on your roster but may or may not be available week 1. So those 53 spots go pretty quick is what I'm saying. To be able to devote that to a third quarterback who very likely will never play. Remember, Matt Ryan's missed like 3 games in his entire career. So, no one anticipates him missing any time. So I think it's very unlikely you could commit that third roster spot when your other 2 quarterbacks are Matt Ryan and Nick Foles. So I think they put him on the practice squad and hope for the best.
It's Stephen Holder of ESPN.com on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. A couple of practices the next couple of days with the Lions, that preseason game too, coming up on Saturday with no starters participating. And we'll follow the Mike Strawn story to see what might pop maybe in the next couple of days, and certainly on Saturday against the Lions in preseason game too. Stephen, I appreciate you. Thank you.
Okay, my man. I'll talk to you soon.
It's Stephen Holder on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Yeah, I know what you wanted me to ask there. Everybody's smiling around. Smiling. Yeah, man, Yeah, the Ehlinger, we end up talking about, I know what you're saying. Who cares? The third-string quarterback. I know. But you got to understand the spot in which we're in right now, where that would, I think, beg at least a reference. And in this case, I asked the question. I get what you're saying. I've often mentioned this. You look back on it, all this stuff we end up talking about in the preseason ends up being a big bunch of crap. It's like free agency. Well, all that stuff we end up talking about, free agency and this and that, and who could come here and who could make him better. Will they make it run at somebody? 95% of it turns out to be just useless stuff. But we are in the moment. That's why you're here, to be in the moment and talk about what's going on in the moment. I mean, hell, if it wasn't the moment, then I could tape this 2 days ago and play it back like they do on radio, music radio. That's what we could do. And then the consultant can say, oh, that's really good, That sounds really good. Those meters. Yeah, wait a minute. Like 48 hours ago. No, seriously, that's why you tune in, even if you go, man, this is just meaningless. In the moment in which we're talking about it, it certainly is more meaningful. Quick break and we'll come back. Red Wine by UB40. I know my consultant's voice sounds exactly like my mom's voice. I'm going to have to change that up. I can't have 2 voices together here, can I? The radio consultant's voice has to be different than my 76-year-old mother's voice. Ray Straw, Phil Steele, Stephen Holder, podcast 1075thefan.com. UB40 Red Wine, Wham Fest tickets in Greenwood on Saturday. It is going to be a party. Listen to win that with 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Once faking the handoff. This time last year, the world watched the Colts on Hard Knocks. That
disaster for Indianapolis.
didn't go so well. Unbelievable. Guess what? They're back. Only this time they're following the Lions straight into joint practice with the Colts.
Doesn't matter if you have one cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
And then the game at Lucas Oil Stadium. Colts, Lions, Saturday at 1.
Matt looked pretty sharp.
On 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
What was that again? Toes and cheeks? Well, yeah, hold on a second. I'm here to tell you about the best in plumbing. Oh, we all have plumbing needs. You know what? We just don't realize it until your toilet doesn't flush, or you don't have any water, or something goes haywire in your home. That's why you always have the best. With Lance and his local team at LD Smith Plumbing, number handy here. 317-284-9526. In case all of a sudden you're introduced to a plumbing issue that has to be taken care of right now. 317-284-9526. Also be thinking about this. 83 are free. We're talking the unclogging, the clearing of any drain in your home. It's $83 or the visit is free. Ask. 83 are free. About it today. From Lance and his local team at LD Smith Plumbing. 317-284-9526 online. It's ldsmithplumbing.com today.
Hi, I'm Ryan Kelly with thehomeloanexpert.com. The amount of money our clients receive with a simple cash-out refinance is life-changing. Imagine paying off all your credit cards, completing home improvement projects, and taking the family on a much-needed vacation while still having money in the bank. And with our 10-day closing guarantee, that could all be a reality quicker than you think. Your home is probably worth more than ever before. Learn more and get pre-approved at thehomeloanexpert.com. The Home Loan Expert LLC, NMLS number 1326241.
It's a fact. Only 0.0001% of people will ever step up to the plate as a pro baseball player. For the rest of us, there's BetRivers.com Sportsbook app. Featuring same-game parlays, you can combine different bets all from the same game. Totals? Bet 'em. Spreads? Bet 'em. Player props? It's a home run. Download the BetRivers.com Sportsbook app today. It's a whole new game.
Must be 21. Must be located in Indiana. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. 1-800-994-8448.
Got a great idea for you. Hey, if you're in the market for a new home, or maybe you just want to put your home on the market to see what you can get out of it, right? Well, you got to go with somebody you can trust. In fact, you need to go with the best. I present to you the absolute best in realty. It's Mark Dietel, 317-755-4232, 317-755-4232, markdietel.com, markdietel.com. Today, my man always, and I mean always, delivers for you. It's can't miss right there. Hey, these situations, big money situations like this, especially involving your future, can be a little nerve-wracking. I'm here to ease your mind, and so is Mark Dietel, guaranteeing multiple offers in 3 days, full market value. Or he's going to list it for free. That's a guarantee that you love, and you're going to go with the best in realty. Mark Dietel, 317-755-4232. Tell him I sent you, 317-755-4232. That's markdietel.com, markdietel.com today.
Join the Sertoma Club of Greenwood for WhamFest, a festival of wine, art, music, and microbrew. This Saturday, August 20th, noon to 9 p.m. at Craig Park in Greenwood. Presented by the Ray Skillman Automotive Group. Tickets at whamfest.com.
Before they break the streak of 8 consecutive opening day losses, the Colts need to practice.
But we talking about practice, man. What are we talking about? Practice?
Yeah, practice.
Recap practice.
Follow the Colts' progress through camp with daily in-depth updates from Kevin Bowen.
It's been pretty uneventful.
At 1075thefan.com.
Making sure we have enough depth.
Your home for complete Colts coverage.
Who are we as a team?
Is 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan. The Ride with JMV.
Are you kidding?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I'm guaranteeing you tonight, events will not sound like this, but a party will be had. Enjoyment for all. It won't sound like this, but that's okay. You're going to have an absolute blast down there at that rock show that's officially underway. Lucas Oil Stadium started with Joan Jett, Poison to follow, Def Leppard, and then Motley Crue. Lucas Oil Stadium right now. I am very happy that a lot of you are down there enjoying that right now. And people are going to tell you, hey, it just doesn't sound the same. Well, yeah, no doubt, because it's not 1983 anymore. So it's not going to sound the same, but it's going to be fun, and that's what you're looking for. Fun. Add that to your concert resume. Say, I was there. And enjoy it. Big question is, will Lucas Oil Stadium still have that wafting marijuana scent on Saturday for the Colts game? Got enough Lysol around here to spray that bad boy down? Hey, by the way, too, I mentioned this. Red Wine by UB40. You hear that song? That's your cue to be caller number 9. And you're going to win tickets to the Sertoma Club of Greenwood's Wham Fest. Now, that's not a festival where they play nothing but George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley stuff. Wham Fest is a festival of wine, art, music, and microbrew. Saturday noon until 9, Craig Park in Greenwood. It is a party. By the way, tickets are available at whamfest.com. You got stages of music, too. That 90s band's going to be playing, Hairbangers Ball. I know that's a big fan, or you're a big fan of that music. A lot of you are around here. Hairbangers Ball. Trippin' Billies. Good party. And fun to be had by all Saturday. 9, check that, noon until 9. Wham Fest. That would be a good name for like a cover band for George Michael and Wham. Wham Fest. Wake me up. JMV at 1070, thefan.com. JMV, I love Ellinger. To heck with Foles. Give the kid a chance. Andrew, they're not gonna. They are sticking with their veteran backup. JMV, it won't sound the same because this is not a Hollywood crowd. Vince Neal. He gave us the finger, too, back in the day. He gave us the finger, told us to blank off. He only got halfway through Kickstarting My Heart. He had to hold that bad steak and shake, and he was bailing. You guys are not a Hollywood crowd. Yeah, it's because it's Monroe County, Indiana, and not Hollywood. I still love Vince, though. JMV, your good question wise, you've already been on the receiving end of those are 2 great questions from Phil Steele. You can't do much better than that. Yeah, that is reassuring to say the least, Jim, in Southern California, man. It is. BT Dew is live from Lucas Oil Stadium with a rock show update. Hello, BT.
Man, they weren't lying. Joan Jett kicked ass, buddy.
Was it good?
So good.
What did she end with? I love rock and roll or bad reputation?
Bad reputation.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
My God. She started playing Do You Want to Touch? I wanted to run up on that stage. She was good.
You sound like you have a rock show arousal working here, BT Do.
Man, yeah. I'm in the beer line right now, dude.
Hey, that'll soften up that a little bit in the beer line, yes.
I got to take one of those blue pills to keep that going.
The rock show arousal from BT. Who's on stage right now?
Well, it's in between acts. Joan Jett just finished.
Okay.
And Poison's coming up.
All right.
So I got in the beer line and I said, "Hey, yo, I know JMV." And they made me let 3 other people go in front of me.
Hey, man, don't party yourself into the ER tonight, okay? Don't do that.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, buddy. I appreciate the update. I'm glad that Joan Jett was great. Enjoy. What time's this whole thing in tonight?
Dude, I don't know. If she played for, an hour and a half or whatever, I don't know what time it's going to get over.
Yeah, I think they're all playing for about 90 minutes. Right?
Dude, I'm going to be good and lit when I leave out of here.
You're going to need a ride. You're going to need a ride home or a place to stay.
I'll call you for an Uber.
I'll be there, BT. Enjoy it, buddy.
All right, brother.
BT Do is at the rock show. Joan Jett's complete, and then Poison is next. That'll be a good time. Jason Pullen says, leave when Motley Crue comes on. I got to see that, too. They do play Shout Out to Devil. They don't play Too Young to Fall in... No, they play that... yeah. They don't play Too Young to Fall in Love, I don't think. They play Looks That Kill. That's weird. Too Young to Fall in Love is one of my favorites. Hey, JMV, getting back to a question that was posed to you a little bit earlier, Bush, in fact, does open up for Alice in Chains and Breaking Benjamin tomorrow night up at Ruoff. Did not know that. Thank you, Sam. Skivvies was accurate. Bush does open up. This is Brian Haas, who's always entertaining inside the lounge via YouTube Live. Stampede Blue features the dumbest of the dumb. What's this guy's Jared Merlot? He thinks he's a football coach for coaching 40-year-olds in backyard pickup games. Do you ever read Stampede Blue? Who is that? Do we know anybody? Is that Luke Schulteis or Matt? I know some that are on here. Jake Arthur? No? Or you don't know, or are you shaking me off?
I don't know. Yeah. I don't read it.
Hey, Haas, man, who's Jared Merlot? Which is a very southern Indiana way for me to pronounce that, I'm sure. Merlot. Why is he a doofus? What? Scott Smith says Vince just screechingly mumbles his vocals. Nah. Here's what they do, because we kind of saw that years ago with David Coverdale and Whitesnake. They will point the mic out to the crowd and they'll let you guys sing it. That's what they'll do. I don't blame them. You don't need any of that studio quality crap. You can get that at home. But that's what he'll probably do a lot. He'll have the crowd sing it. That's what Coverdale did. I thought Coverdale was great. Just Coverdale's not what he once was. I mean, none of us are. I guess I'm close because I never really was much in the first place, so I don't have a lot of ground to lose. But now it'll be a good time. All right, quick one. We'll come back. It's Greg Rakestraw a little bit earlier. Phil Steele was just outstanding. Everything college football, all the knowledge that's necessary for you. Phil Steele. It's a podcast, 1075thefan.com. And from camp in Westfield, Stephen Holder of ESPN.com a little bit earlier, too. And by the way, BT Do with the Rock Show update. Haas says Malott. Is that the dude that always gets on me, Haas? There's a guy that I think does Stampede Blue, that he's somewhere out in the Pacific Northwest, that absolutely hated my take on Andrew Luck and the Ring of Honor. But the problem was, it wasn't a take and it wasn't an opinion. It was actually how it's going to go down. There's a difference. Like, I'm just telling you how that's going to happen as opposed to this being some wild-ass take. Is that who we're talking about, that guy here? Because he doesn't like me, and I think that guy's a jerk. And not because he doesn't like me. There's plenty of folks out there that don't like me. The guy's just a jerk. You guys know how I roll. I don't get into it with you unless you instigate it. Otherwise, we're all good. Scott Smith says, no, that's another guy. I think that guy's anonymous, right? Hey, man, the porn bots are back. Jebediah, can you get rid of the porn bots? What are you doing over there? All right? We're going to have to give you a sensitivity course if we're not careful right here with all the porn bots you're letting through the gate. Quick break. We'll come back. Somebody's going to win something, too. I'll explain next.
One's faking the handoff. This time last year, the world watched the Colts on Hard Knocks. That
disaster for Indianapolis
didn't go so well.
Unbelievable.
Guess what? They're back. Only this time they're following the Lions straight into joint practice with the Colts.
Doesn't matter if you have one ass cheek and 3 toes. I will beat your ass.
And then the game at Lucas Oil Stadium. Colts, Lions, Saturday at 1.
Matt looked pretty sharp.
On 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Come out to the Indiana State Fair for the All-In Festival September 3rd and 4th. There'll be tons of artists that you'll enjoy listening to all day long.
Big Red Liquors, Big Gas Giveaway. This month, Big Red Liquors is giving away 4 $500 gas cards. Yes, you could win a $500 gas card. Stop in at any Big Red Liquors to enter. It's free. Must be 21 to enter. No purchase necessary.
Now is the perfect time to get into the home of your dreams. Learn more and get pre-approved today at thehomeloanexpert.com. NMLS number 1326241.
Radiant raspberry, golden orange, ice blue. You'll find all the colors of summer in our selection of beautiful, natural sapphires. Every color imaginable. At Shane Company, we're gemstone experts and our passion shows. Tom Shane selects our sapphires and rubies individually, by hand, in Bangkok, the gemstone capital of the world. He brings back the most spectacular sapphires, bold and vibrant colors, as well as soft pastels like peach and lavender. We also have yellow citrine, green quartz, London blue topaz, a rainbow of colors, and one-of-a-kind stones sourced by Tom. At Shane Company, we're known for our beautiful gemstones. Come into the store and try on our jewelry, or use our fun, virtual try-on tool on your phone. Whether it's sparkling earrings for the poolside, a gemstone pendant for a concert in the park, or a vibrant center stone for your engagement ring, our colorful gemstones will brighten your day.
Now you have a friend in the jewelry business. Shane Company and ShaneCo.com.
Hey, it's John here. A new set of wheels is just a visit or a phone call away from Indiana's best. Andy Moore Buick GMC. That's 131st State Road 37. It's in Fishers. My friend is Eric Wilson. He is up there, and he's got the inventory. He's got the car buying experience. He's got the pricing, and the service after the sale is absolutely unmatched. Let's have ourselves a car buying experience. You know what I'm talking about? Like the ones your grandparents had? They went over and over to the same place. Why? Because they trusted that place. They trusted the people who were going to do them up right with everything I just explained as far as the car buying experience is concerned. You get that at Indiana's best. Tell Eric Wilson I sent you to Andy Moore Buick GMC, 131st State Road 37 in Fishers.
In the construction business and can't find what you need? Quality Supply and Tool has served Hoosiers for over a quarter of a century. Tom Hawk is the branch manager of the Indy location on South Harding Street.
We've always been big on keeping our shelves fully stocked of inventory of industrial-grade tools, concrete, masonry products, as well as the necessary accessories to help get the job done. You don't have it, you can't sell it. Our experience allows us to help with getting the pros as well as the weekend pro taken care of.
Quality Supply and Tool also has locations in Bloomington and Jeffersonville to help you think outside the box. Store.
The Jim Irsay Collection is coming to downtown Indianapolis September 9th, and it's free. Indianapolis Colts owner Jim Irsay has what's been described as the world's greatest collection of rock guitars, musical instruments, and historical sports and pop culture memorabilia. The collection is highlighted by instruments and items from some of the greatest artists in music history. This free event is from 7 to 10 p.m. at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis and will feature a performance by the Jim Irsay Band with special guest Ann Wilson of Heart. For all the details and to register for your free ticket, head to JimIrsayCollection.com.
Got a great idea for you. You have until August the 20th right here. CarX Tire and Auto. Joe Childers run CarX locations 14 in Central Indiana. I promise there's one near you. They have a free back-to-school inspection that's going down right now for tires, brakes, battery, oil, and fluids in your vehicle. AC, wiper blades. Here's what you have to do. You can't just show up because this needs to go by appointment only. So call your nearest CarX location and schedule with the manager an appointment for their free back-to-school inspection. Hey, I want you all to be safe going back to school in your rides, and so does Joe Childers in the 14 Central Indiana CarX location. Schedule your appointment today, and for the location nearest you, it's CarX.com.
In St. Pete, Clearwater, Florida, every day is a beach day. And with 35 miles of pristine, sugary white sand, it's easy to see why. So let's grab the beach bag, the beach ball, and the boogie board. Let's pack the suits, the sunscreen, and the sunglasses. Take a dip in the emerald green waters of the Gulf. And then take in a breathtaking sunset at the end of the day. So let's make a beeline to the beach. And let's shine. Plan your next getaway at visitstpeteclearwater.com.
The Red Sox and Orioles play in Williamsport on Sunday Night Baseball. The coverage begins at 6 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Ahoy, Ploy.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Webfest. The Sertoma Club of Greenwood offers up Whamfest for you. The Whamfest Festival, hence Whamfest, I guess, right? Art, wine, music, and microbrew. It is an absolute, oh yeah, okay, wine, art, music, wow, I get it now. There you go. There you go. This is a party. I've been a part of this before, and I promise you it is going to be a blast coming up on Saturday. If you don't win tickets right now and you're not caller 9, whamfest.com to get your tickets right now. Entertainment. You got Indiana Microbrews. I think my guy, is Bill Richardson going to be over there for Mallow Run? Oh, Mallow Run wine working. Hairbangers Ball. That 90s band and others will be playing. Where's that 90s band out of? Is it local or is that something regional? And thanks everybody for Whamfest tickets. That's a good time. It will be a blast, I promise you. A blast. 2 stages. Got food. That is coming up this Saturday. Check that. Noon until 9. I keep wanting to say 9 a.m., but noon until 9 at Craig Park in Greenwood. So knock yourself out with that. Number 9's going. Hey, JMV, it's not that Vince sounds bad. He lost his voice to fat. What? Paul, by the way, I haven't heard from you in forever on the JMV Takeover. It's concerning to me. No, he's lost his voice to fat. He's constantly winded. He can only mutter every 3rd or 8th word because he's completely out of breath. So he's lost his voice to fat. I'm well on my way. There's a lot of people out there right now going, man, I hope so. JMV, please, can you lose your voice to fat too? Please? Hey, JMV, what was your Luck Ring of Honor take? I missed it. Do you think he will be there? I do not. No, it wasn't even a take. It was just telling you how it's going to happen. They're going to have to win something significantly for it to be in the near future. After that, it will be the passage of time. And that's not a take. That's the truth. Matt Dillon, which is an awesome name, says the 90s band is a Southside group. Perry Meridian connection? Really? Shout out to Perry Meridian and that 90s band. It's outstanding work right there. So they'll be a part of it. Inside the Lounge via YouTube Live, you guys have been fantastic too. Still going at Jared Malott. Makes me laugh, man. Hey, Jebediah, I hope you're not upset about the way that we messed around with you in here today. You okay? All right, I'm glad. You did a good job, buddy. That's Elijah, everybody. We just call him Jebediah because he reminds me of the guy that pitched for Walnut Grove in that episode where Mr. Edwards was hitting cleanup for the Walnut Grove baseball team, and they, instead of having gloves in the field, they used sacks over their hands. Only I would know that. I don't expect you to know that. Hey, great job today. Thank you, Greg Rakestraw. Thank you, Stephen Holder. And Phil Steele was incredible today. Podcast 1075thefan.com. Hey, guys, before you leave the lounge, hit that like button on your way out, please. I don't want to feel really bad. Hit that like button on your way out. I'm back in studio with you coming up tomorrow. Enjoy the rock show tonight, too. Be safe. Back with you tomorrow at 3.
Last year, the Westfield Shamrocks